And I'll give a prayer, and then George isn't here tonight, I see. Kevin, would you like to do the Pledge of Allegiance after I say the prayer? Oh, Father in heaven, thank you for this day, such a beautiful day. Thank you for the interest and concern that people in our community have for our business here tonight. And hopefully we'll get along, just agree to disagree, but continue to be able to move right along and do your business in this district. In Jesus Christ, our Savior's name, amen.
Amen.
Kevin?
Ready, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Georgiana.
Director Kevin
Here.
Director Ann Rice.
Here.
Director Mark Solich.
Here.
Vice President Cliff Jacobson.
Here.
President Bill Kellogg.
Present. Approval of consent calendar. Does anyone want to take anything off of the consent calendar?
Move we approve the consent calendar as listed here.
I second.
Is there any other questions or anything about the consent calendar agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Public participation. Individuals will be given an opportunity to address the board regarding matters not scheduled on the agenda, although the board cannot take action on any matter not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Opportunity for public comment on agenda items will be provided at the time they are discussed by the board, with comments limited to 5 minutes per agenda item. Kevin, can you present the check register?
Yep.
On what?
Public participation.
You just call for
Public participation, all right. Mr. President, members of the board, I want to apologize for my outburst last week. I lost my temper. I was rude. That's inappropriate, and I'm sorry.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. President Kellogg. First, sadness. I'm sad to see George. But I'm glad where he's going. As you know, I'm a shareholder in Cal Water and have been extremely pleased with their management for many, many years. They are blessed to have his talents, and I will be continued blessed with their profits.
Any other comments?
I would like to speak about the special session that you had the other day, and to say that George and Kevin are both very charismatic, and they agree with people very well. And we've had a large misuse of funds in PID. And to say that is the fault of the board, it is, because they rubber stamped everything that came through. So we had a recall. And we have 3 new board members. And we're hopeful that it would be a shame to have a newly elected board members to fall for the same schmoozing type antics and hire from within. I'd like to encourage you to hire from without and to get a company to do the hiring and make it a really good business person. We don't need a water person to do it. We have plenty of experience in PID, but we need to have a good business person to control the money output and everything of PID. And I encourage you to hire from a business firm, to hire from without. Do not hire anybody from within, because you stand a big chance of perpetuating what has happened in the past. And we definitely don't need that to happen. Okay?
Sue,
I encourage
did you
everyone
say?
to listen to Bill Kellogg, because he's been there and he knows what has happened, and he was turned away at every instance where he tried to correct
Point of
this
order,
misuse of
Mr.
funds.
President.
This point-
This,
No.
if this is a conversation in relationship to something we're be
I
discussing
know that
tonight,
it's on the agenda.
should that not be discussed during that agenda item?
Pardon me, but I was speaking.
We're just going to be
When I
polite.
get through speaking, then you take your turn.
Ma'am, excuse me.
You got no manners whatsoever.
Ma'am, I do have manners, but public
I have not taken
participation.
my 5 minutes time.
Ma'am, you can have 5 minutes to speak to the item when that agenda item comes up. This time here is to speak to items not on the agenda.
I'm saying. I
Simply
said
as a
at the
point of
beginning
order,
what I
it
was
would be more
talking about.
appropriate if you would speak
And I
at that
believe
point
that
in time.
everyone on the board has heard me. now.
Thank you, Cliff.
That was listening.
Sue, finish up what we were saying, but you didn't introduce yourself, I don't think, when you started.
Okay, I am Sue Porter, and most of you know that I don't really say a whole lot most of the time. I have listened, I listen, and I gather everything in, and then I will speak about it. And I really encourage the board not to take any hiring from within,
Okay.
outside for your
You've
hiring.
made your point, and we appreciate you coming, and I enjoy the compliment, but he's right. You did go to an agenda item that we're going to talk about later on. So is there anybody else that wants to speak to the board about something that is not on the agenda? No. With that, expense approval, I think, did I get to the check register on page 37? Is that where we're going? And Kevin has the floor.
I'll entertain any questions about the expenditures for the month.
I had one.
Okay.
Actually, I had two or three, but most of them I think I figured out. Somebody from the public a couple of meetings ago, after the meeting, asked me about something, and I've been meaning to follow through. Air gas. I don't see anybody, either Keith or Jim Ladrini here this evening that I can see. Jim Passanisi might know this, I'm not sure.
It's well in supplies.
But it's in regards to air gas, which is on 37, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, like the fifth one down. And the question specifically was, are we getting credit for, and I'd never thought about this before, but are we getting credit when gas bottles go back? Not always are they empty. And so how is that gauged? Is there any way of following through? Because this party that talked to me said that at one company that they used to be involved with, the bottles went back for a long time, and finally they got realizing that a lot of the bottles still had third full, quarter full, whatever, and you're supposed to be receiving credit on that, or only what's filled. But what they were finding out is that they were owed thousands of dollars from the company because of the fact that they were being charged for a full bottle and an empty bottle, no credit on the not empty bottle. So it was just a curiosity question to see if anybody is doing anything like that.
I can follow up. I have no idea.
Thank you. Frankly, and I have no idea either. I generally run my bottles down to totally empty, but anyway, it was an interesting question that I could not answer the person from the public.
Yep.
Dan, I think it's just an exchange. You exchange an empty bottle for a full one.
Well, this person had said that in their organization, they just came and just routinely picked up the bottles. And even if they weren't full, they picked up the bottles because it was just, you grab one, you replace it, so that your bottles are always full, but they didn't necessarily have an arrangement where they ran them completely empty.
Right.
I do mine.
Yeah,
I have regretted it a few times, too.
Yeah, it makes sense if you're picking them up without your knowledge on a route, and they're half full.
Yeah, my experience is we used to put them off to the corner, the ones that were empty.
Empties
and
were
then
just different
And you're
locations.
right, they would
Yeah.
come by on a regular schedule, but then they just go right to the empties.
Empties only
Yeah.
did they pull, yeah. Well, it was a question that I couldn't answer, and I thought it was a good question.
I'll get the answer.
And that was it.
Okay.
Any other questions on the check register? Questions? Have a motion approving it? Pardon? Oh, ask the audience, yeah. I don't know, do you even have a copy of the check register other than what we've got on the, so quite a few pages.
Well, they're supposed to be given the opportunity, even if you
Okay.
don't exercise it.
I don't mind you pointing that out to me, Dan, so I'm fine. but it doesn't seem anybody has
Okay.
comments. I'll have the
I'll-
one comment that I make every once in a while. I haven't made it. This check register has all been approved and paid before we vote on it. And I would like to change that someday. Now, can I have a motion to okay the check register?
I move we approve the check register and consider approval of general fund check numbers 50388 through 50513 for the month of March 2017, totaling $590,867.07, exclusive of voided checks 50436, 42 and 56 and 59 and 75 and 78 and 86. And I just was reading the last numbers of all of those. The authorization of a similar amount allowing to or adjusting for extraordinary budget of board-approved items during the month of April 2017.
I second.
Any further comments by the board or ideas? Questions? All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Thank you. Cash position, Kevin?
Yep, you have my written treasurer's report. I don't know where my header went. But our cash position is at $2.152 million. It's been holding steady there for the last 5 months, it seems like. We've made almost all of our debt service payments. There might be a little one left at the end of the month or at the end of the year, but that's considerably has drawn that down. And we're hoping for a little bounce back in consumption revenue. Our consumption revenue still is lagging behind what our budgeted estimates are of $372,000. So there is a little bit of a budget deficit when it comes to that. We have some padding in there. And the other thing, too, is our operational expenses are still kind of are lower also due to some positions opened that we haven't filled. And it'll continue to kind of stay down operational-wise due to the fact that we have some new positions that are going to be open for a little bit. So that kind of helps kind of with the sting of losing that consumption revenue. I'm formatting the budget right now, and I think it would be a good exercise going forward in the next month to have a budget workshop with the full board to walk through the upcoming budget, all of the intricacies of the budget, and maybe to get some full input from the board of where directionally we want to go into the future with our budget. So I will be scheduling that. I think that's really the highlights of it. If there's any questions, I can answer them at this point.
Can you give us a little lead time on that scheduling for those of us that work during the day?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, I will throw out many dates. May is going to be a month for me. I'll be attending the Aqua Conference at the beginning of May, and I'll be presenting a educational program at the Aqua Conference this year. The educational program will be on affordability programs under Prop 218. So one that we kind of figured out how to get done. So I'll be presenting at the Aqua Conference on Wednesday, and I'll be back on Thursday on that. And then I'll be attending the Government Finance Officers Association at the end of May, and that'll be in Denver. And that one's an annual conference that I go to that I think is very valuable to the district. So.
Kevin, what's the drop dead date for the board to approve the new budget?
It is 3 months after the year end.
Fiscal year.
3 months
Fiscal year end. So our fiscal year end is June 30th.
Right.
We actually have
End of
3 months.
September, so.
3 months afterwards.
Okay.
We're not like a school district where they have to have it
Right.
to line into the state budget.
Right.
Because we're an enterprise district and a special district, we have 3 months to approve a budget, and it could be very, very simple. There's no requirements for a vast budget or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think we need to wait that long.
Yeah.
How much did we spend total for the month?
The check register last month was $570,000.
And how much of the cash position or the $2 million you referred to is available to the district?
1.36 million.
Yeah.
So we basically have
Or
2 months in
1.03.
reserve or close to it?
We have Last month was a little high because we had a debt service payment in there, and then I believe we had 2 health insurance payments in there. So on average, our average expenses run around $370,000. So I would say 3 months reserve operational-wise. That again will be part of our budget discussion when we look at the budget. As we're going to add the budget discussion in with the reserving policy, so that we know where we're at, and maybe we'll have some different ideas of how we want to operational reserve versus long-term reserves, and how those will be handled going into the future. So,
What do you think about some of the projects we are talking about? Do we actually have enough money in reserve to go ahead with the $400,000 projects?
We do.
well, we have liquid 1.036. So if we were to ink a project and say we're going to pay cash for it today, I would say no, we don't have the cash available to it. We have built into our rates, though, we have a increase coming in the January 1st of this year, and that includes some debt service increases that we would be able to go out and borrow for projects if the projects were of the board's liking, and that would be available to pay that debt service over that time period. So there's money coming available for some capital projects going into the future, because that we did estimate that into our rate increase.
When would that money be available?
The money is going to be January 1st, 2018 will be the next rate increase. That it has an increase to cover debt for certain projects.
So between then and there, or here and there, you don't have money to go into a project, it sounds like.
Well, we're set up to do that. That's going to be up to the board and how the board wants to finance that project.
But I'm asking your opinion.
I don't know the specifics of what you're talking about, so I can't answer directly a specific answer. If you're asking me to spend $500,000 tomorrow on a project, I'm going to tell you probably shouldn't do that.
And that'd be through January then, in other words.
It matters how the project is going to be scheduled. The financing behind the project, if it's an SRF project, then I'd say it's fine, because the SRF projects do not require debt service payments until the project 18 months after the project is deemed complete.
What's an SRF?
State revolving fund.
Yeah.
State revolving fund. So that would be if we got a loan from the state revolving fund at 2% interest.
Correct.
And
Or if it was a grant project, associated with that, or if a grant project with matching funds, then I would say that you probably want to maybe stretch that out a little bit, and then go out maybe for a borrowing on that to make up those matching funds, if that grant project was something that is going to be so beneficial to the district that it's hard to pass up.
does anybody else have questions for Kevin? Is there any questions from the audience for this?
If you'll notice, the reserve fund is not growing much, but I suspect it's because, just like Kevin mentioned, that the income level is low because water consumption is low. And so what we need to do is encourage all of our friends. It doesn't matter if it's pouring rain, water your lawns, I'm kidding.
Here, here.
I think also our society rarely pays cash for anything. I didn't pay cash for my house. I'm sure you didn't pay cash for your house. We got to finance things, so it's how smartly we finance them at the appropriate time to get the job done at the appropriate time, and not so much that we have the cash to pay for it at the same time.
Correct.
I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I move that we accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
Any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next thing on the agenda, director's fees and expense reimbursements. This is referring to the Cliff and Ann and Mark will probably, and Dan, they all wanted, I don't think they're going to take their $100 a day, and this is allowing it to be legal, I gather. If you guys want to comment about this.
I have a point of information for Dustin. this Part B on page 59. I thought that was an excellent idea, and so I have a letter on file now saying that I would accept $1 a meeting. So does that mean I should resubmit a letter saying I accept from my salary the annual boat pass for each year?
Yes, resend your previous letter and submit a new one that in lieu of cash payment, you'll accept the
Okay.
permit.
So that our poor accounting department or payroll, whatever it is, doesn't have to keep track of how many
Right.
meetings on my $1 a meeting. So I thought that was quite a good idea.
It's a great idea.
That is brilliant.
That was Kevin's brilliant.
Kevin, you're brilliant.
Can I have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
There's nothing in here giving you direct, usually there's something written to what you're supposed to read, but I guess not. So it's under director's fees and expense reimbursements, agenda item 6A, and the motion is made to approve the changes in the bylaws,
I'll second.
to accept this, and we have and second by Ann. Is there any further to pay? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
You didn't give the public an opportunity to comment on that item?
Ooh,
You did not give the public an opportunity to comment on that item?
He didn't verbalize it, but I was watching him. He said, anybody have a comment, and looked that direction and didn't see anybody say. But
enough.
technically, Bill, you are supposed to open it to the public, yes.
well, my first mistake tonight.
Yep, that's it.
I'm doing better than I have in the past. The next agenda item, interim general manager, Manager Barber, consider appointment of interim general manager appointment. Has the public seen the things, Dustin, that you and Kevin put together on this?
They are not in the agenda packet, but looks like we do have them projected on the screen. If you'd like, I could take a few minutes to walk through them. Is that okay with the board?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the first document you have before you is the interim district manager agreement. Again, this is a proposal from Kevin to the board of directors. You as the board can accept, reject, or propose changes. On this particular document, the only change Kevin is proposing is a change in the name of the position, interim district manager, rather than interim general manager. Everything else is the same as the prior meeting. Would you go to the next? Okay, so this is the amendment to Kevin's existing agreement as CFO. And the color, the strikeout, and then the red line is changes that Kevin is proposing. So the first change in the first paragraph there, we wanted to make sure that it was abundantly clear that this amendment does not go into effect until the termination of the interim district manager agreement. So this has a future to it. It wouldn't legally take effect tonight. The next change, we also carried forward the change in title. Kevin is proposing that he, upon completion of his duties as interim district manager, he assume a new title of assistant district manager / chief financial officer. And then I'm having trouble reading that.
All other salary items were stricken.
Yes. So the new number 2 is Kevin agreed with the board suggestion, I believe it was you, Mark, that there ought to be a blended job description if you're assuming a new title. So we've got a new Exhibit A, which I'll come to shortly, and then the former paragraph 2, which is the strikeout blue language there. Kevin is removing that as part of his proposal that he would have a salary change at the conclusion of the interim district manager period. Anything you want to add, Kevin, on that?
No.
Okay. The last document you have before you there is the job description. This is a markup of Kevin's current CFO job description. So the colored language is additions. really the meat of the change, most of the changes is carrying forward the name change, assistant district manager / CFO. The meat of the change concerning the assumption of new duties is towards the bottom of that page there, where he's going to assist in personnel matters, including but not limited to employment procedures, grievances, employer-employee relations. And then the new bullet, at the direction of the district manager, he'll perform those various duties, establish plans, procedures, management controls, implement board policy, represent the district, etc. And then lastly, the last bullet there is to perform the duties of district manager for limited time periods when the district manager's unavailable, either on vacation or some kind of leave. The last page is just other title changes. Kevin, did I capture your proposal?
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion at this time. The motion would be that we move this to the bylaws committee because this changes the bylaws of the district. The district has never had an assistant district manager or job description before, and it is a change in the bylaws.
Point of order, Mr. President. We haven't approved to change the bylaws yet. We haven't approved this, what's before us, so why would we go to the bylaws to make a change?
I think the point that he's making is technically we would have to adopt the verbiage for the changes prior to actually placing that position. Be it valid or not, I think that's what he's saying.
Repeat what you just said. I don't understand what you're saying.
We're creating a position that doesn't exist in the policies and procedures and bylaws. So he's saying that instead of changing that, you change the terminology first, then allow it.
Seems like you're putting the cart before the horse. Because if we don't approve the position, why would no action would be taken?
Well, there's no second so far, so we'll just wait. If there's no second, we'll go ahead.
Well, I'll second it so that you can at least talk about it and explain. Maybe I might be misunderstanding, but I think I'm understanding what you're saying.
Yeah, it's basically that. When I went through the bylaws today, I talked to Dustin a little bit on the phone, and afterwards went through the bylaws. This job doesn't exist in the bylaws. So if we go ahead with it, we actually don't have the bylaws to describe the position. In other words, the duties and everything, and part of the bylaws committee's job would be to make sure there's no conflict with any other jobs on the job description. In other words, is some of the job description taking away from the district manager's job description? Now, we've only seen this thing since yesterday afternoon. We saw the proposal for the contract, and it's only been since 11 o'clock this morning that we saw the job description. And I looked at it and I thought, boy, this is I don't know if you guys are into baseball or something, but it's a bum's rush in my way of thinking. In other words, there isn't time for the board to really sit down and pick on this. And we've got a full agenda tonight and go through this step by step and ask questions. So I'm saying put it to the bylaws committee. They go through it probably within a week or so, and it'd be coming back to the board. And then you vote on it totally. If you want because you're going to vote on the bylaws, which will be the job description, and Kevin's could fill it. So all I'm saying is give us a little time, review the bylaws, change if any changes are necessary, make sure it doesn't interfere with any other job description that we have in the bylaws. And we have not had the time as a board to look at that. So,
Actually, it's policies and procedures. I don't think we actually have any bylaws. And in that section on duties of the general manager or district manager, as it states now, I don't see any conflict. In fact, it looks to me like he is rescinding his requirement for additional salary to take on a permanent position after the temporary manager position of additional work for the same rate of pay. I think that's applaudable, actually. And I personally, from what I read at the Policies and Procedures Manual, unless we want to amend the Policies and Procedures Manual first, I don't see a conflict with what was brought forth today and what's currently written in our policy manual.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Kevin, if I might. When I was looking at this, I don't understand why the assistant director manager / CFO, it seems to me that that should be reversed, and maybe I'm incorrect, because your CFO position is probably 90% of your job, and then 10% would be, and I might have my percentages mixed up, but you're still, your principal primary occupation or job description is CFO. Why is it that way? Is there some significance to that? Because it seems like it ought to be the other way, because your principally would be maintaining your existing job and then filling in as needed in the rest of it. Was there a reason for that?
I think that's semantics at this point. So.
Well, and it could be.
Yeah.
Dan, I think that's pretty typical. If you look at these job descriptions of other districts, which I've done, and there's tons of them out there.
Your short term, your small percentage becomes first?
No, your highest level becomes
It's your
first.
responsibility there. That
Yeah, highest level of
Okay.
responsibility is always listed before the next.
Got it.
I don't know if this is helpful or not, but in the Policies and Procedures Manual, the descriptions that are in there outline the support to the board, like it's treasurer or secretary. It's not the full job description, the complete job description.
Right. And I note that in the job description for your current position, it also states that in the absence of the district manager, that you will fulfill the functions of the district manager, which would assume to me to be assistant general manager or district manager. So.
Yeah, one of the things I like about this is that it formalizes the chain of command. Right now, we have no way that's really formalized to put someone else in charge after the general manager's absence. Excuse me. So this way, we know we don't have to ask someone, hope they say yes.
He assumes that automatically.
That's right.
Yeah.
Can I give a little history? It has been at the general manager's discretion in the past. So prior to Kevin's arrival, it was a mix of treatment superintendent acted for a while, distribution superintendent did it at some times. Since Kevin's been on board, it's been him exclusively, but it's been the manager's decision. So if you want to have a say in that, this is the appropriate way to do it.
Thanks, Jordan.
Board have any more?
I still had one comment. I personally, even though this is not anything against Kevin, even remotely, but I still feel like we're maybe rushing into this a tiny bit more than we need to. The manager is still here, but that's just my opinion. I know that the public in the past spoke to this at the last meeting, and I too feel like, not a rush. Another several weeks, it wouldn't make any difference, but that's my opinion.
Well, let me ask one more question, maybe to Dustin. Can we amend this at any point? In other words, we approve it tonight. Do we have the ability to make changes?
Not unilaterally.
Okay.
You can propose changes at any
Okay.
time. Let me take that back. You can, every year there's a performance evaluation. That's an existing part of Kevin's agreement as CFO. As part of that evaluation, you then have the discretion to provide a COLA or salary adjustment. So that is something you have unilateral control over. But I interpreted your question as more along the lines of we want to change that paragraph to something else. And that is the type of thing that would require a new negotiation, Kevin's consent.
Okay.
Goes both ways, by the way. If Kevin wanted to change something as part of his contract, he would have to do the same thing. It would be a proposal that then the board can say yes or no to.
Are you saying that we couldn't make a motion to accept this and then make an amendment to that motion to make a change that we want?
The amendment, depending on what it is, would have to go to Kevin for approval. This is a contract. It's like buying a car. You can say, I'll buy your car for $30,000, and the seller could say, no, you won't. I'll take it. I'll sell it for $32,000. So you got to arrive at middle ground that both parties agree to.
So hypothetically, if we had a motion to accept and then a motion to divide the question, it would be up to Kevin. He would have right of refusal, and we wouldn't go any further?
I don't follow. Divide the what question?
To take these proposals separately.
Well, why don't you hear from Kevin? Is this a package deal, Kevin, or?
Can I make a comment first? I apologize for interrupting you, Kevin, but do I understand this correctly that there's nothing in either one of these contracts that would allow or create a condition where Kevin would be remiss in the responsibilities of CFO or in the interim position as the district manager, or for that matter, after he retains his original salary and his new title of assistant district manager and chief financial officer, would anything in either one of these contracts keep him from performing the combination of both his CFO duties that he's performing currently and assistant district manager duties?
Would you go back to the first document, Kevin? I made that explicit in the last sentence of paragraph 1 there, section 1. While serving as interim district manager, Phillips shall also continue to perform the duties of CFO. So,
Is that what you're? Yes. Right.
Okay, so there's no conflict.
no.
Thank you.
Good question.
Anybody more comments from the board? Audience, would you like to comment on this? Remember the 5-minute limit?
Did you finish your motion?
No,
Second.
There's no motion.
it was motion. There was a motion and a second, and that's where it sits.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bum's rush is an interesting term to use in this regard, and frankly, in the short amount of time, it's probably fitting. As you know, most of you do, I attend many meetings, some formal, some informal, and there's a lot of feedback in our town about how we have been governed as a community. And a lot of it came down to how we came about changing this board to go from contentiousness and argumentative with each other and with the public to what we have now, which I would consider to be a benefit to us, the public, for you as our board. However, I think many people feel that we are a governing board of the people, by the people, and for the people. And as we experienced in the past, a board that did not hear, did not consider the public, it's time now that you would step up and show yourselves in consideration of the public's concerns. And I think many people, the public, would say, wait a second, we have had management as usual, sometimes excellent and sometimes questionable, for many years. And it's time to think about how somebody from our community who is qualified to represent the people and the board and the staff here as an interim until we find just the right person to take on the position permanently. And I know you've received at least one, maybe several letters from people who are part of our community and well qualified to do that. And frankly, my experience in a lot of public entities, this is the standard way to go. You find an interim that's part of your community that is qualified, and they're there for 3 months, 6 months, or whatever it takes until you find just the right permanent candidate. So I would avoid this, what appears to be a bum's rush tonight, and get back to some serious negotiating with who might be the better interim candidate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ward.
Thanks, Ward.
Lauren Harvey, thank you, Board. Before I make a comment, I'd just like to say that I believe you 5 are working wonderful. It is. I realize you were all separate personalities, and God bless you for being that. But it works. It's working the way I thought that it should work, at least as dumb as I am. But anyway, I'd just like to say thank you for that. You guys you're definitely different personalities, but it's wonderful to see how you commingle and kind of get to an agreement. But now that I've said that, I would like to put on my gloves. And I don't see any reason at all that we're rushing into this. And I think the last speaker had the right idea, because see, remember, you folks may or may not know this, but the public had a very, very bad taste in their mouth from what happened before. And as I was and as I was watching the first of the meeting, Kevin leaned over and whispered something in George's ear, and George whispered back something, and that right there, folks, is what we don't want to see. And that's one reason why we don't particularly, a lot of people in the community don't particularly stand up and want Kevin in the job, because it's true. We feel like, maybe it's unfair to Kevin, because I don't know him personally, but the thing about it is, we don't want another George. We don't want another George. We replaced the board so we could replace George, quite frankly. And so I'd just like the board to remember that we don't want business as usual. That's how we lost our money. That's how we got plastic meters. That's how we got this building. That's how we got that shop out there that the employees of PID worked on instead of construction people that knew what they were doing. And so I'd just like the board to slow down a little bit and do some thinking about it. Obviously, the place ain't on fire. Pearson Road's not flooded out in the dip down there because we got a humongous leak. I don't see the rush. I'd just like the board to slow down a little bit and remember the reason that the public did what they did. And so I'm not totally convinced that we'd get a change in management if we stayed with somebody who whispers back and forth during the meeting to each other. And so I'm just not confident in that, and I hope that you folks aren't either. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yes. Please say your name.
Jenny Ryan.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you for all being here. I'll go along with Lauren. It's nice new faces. And I would like to say that, or suggest that you put the brakes on the bum's rush. Think about it a little bit. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny.
Jenny.
Anybody else from the public that would like to speak? Any of the board members want to speak back to what the public said?
Yes, for a point of clarification, though, first, have we now gone away with your motion to suspend this? Are we discussing that, or are we?
Haven't voted on it yet.
Or are we on to determining whether or not to? So we're kind of blending the two together there, and it's not making a whole lot of sense.
No, it's still just up for discussion, because the motion was made to kick it back to the bylaws committee to add the verbiage, and I just second it merely to be able to proceed. And so when the president feels it's appropriate, we vote on that. Whether it goes anywhere or not, then we can start again.
Mr. President, to the response to public comments, a couple things. One, I heard that a temporary person might be a good fit rather than somebody who's already here. I have to disagree with that, not because I've seen Kevin's performance even, but if I put that completely aside and I take all the personality out of it, as a business owner and as a manager, I can't see the benefit of bringing somebody in for a short period of time, spending half of that time helping them get up to speed so that they can do the job that they were hired to temporarily do. And then at the time that they get fairly proficient, then you replace them with somebody else. Why even bother? Because if you're not going to run business as usual and you're going to drag it down by having to train somebody new for a temporary position that they're going to be gone when you hire your permanent person, why would you do that? It makes no sense.
I'd like to also speak to the fiscal aspect of that, Mr. President, that we will pay about $10,000 a month versus the,
Zero.
$2,500 a month extra, whatever it is, for an interim manager
So,
See,
Something
it's
to consider.
interesting. What I'm asking is to take what's been presented to us, the job description is what I'm laying on, and we review that. That's all the bylaws committee does. We won't review the contract. We'll review the job description to make sure the job description doesn't conflict with the district manager or anybody else's job. Make sure the verbiage is right, what have you. It'll take about a week. As soon as we get the committee together, which is Dan and myself, and get it done. And if necessary, if you're still concerned about spending money, we can have a special meeting. Everybody come back and we'll talk about the contract and the job description and any changes that the bylaws might have made, which you have to approve. The committee doesn't have any force other than doing homework for the board. And this is to do homework for the board, bring it back, present it. You guys accept it, maybe change it, and then we go ahead. And that gives us some time to think about it. As far as the financial thing, my argument there, from me, just my own opinion, is just what George said had gone on before he turned Kevin into this replacement, is that we have people on staff that can work together with Kevin to run the district without a manager here, at least for the short term, and the business of the district be done. The president signs whatever the board agrees to. Mm-hmm. If there's some problem or something, we can even call a board meeting if it's that major of a thing or something else. But the district could still perform, do its job, and we have time to consider all of this, and we're not going to be spending any money on another intern. And if somebody wants to apply for this job, I know we have one application I'm aware of for an intern here. It was in last week's agenda. Then why not find out about that at the same time if somebody wants to apply and see what kind of money they want, and you have choices. And of course, I've already said what my opinion on. Cliff and I disagree totally on this thing, so I don't think Kevin should be. But that's not the problem right now. The problem is just saying, all right, do we have the job description right? Do we have the title right? And so forth. It's housekeeping. It'll take about a week, and then we'll have that straightened out, and it gives what they're asking for some time for you to go through the process, and it shouldn't cost the district any money.
Can I make a comment,
Yes, Mark.
President? I have to agree with Cliff on this. George, I think, submitted his resignation, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago? Believe me, we've all been thinking about this since that day, okay? And since that hour when I first got that email. So it's not a bum's rush here. I just want to let everybody know. I've been thinking about it long and hard. I've been looking at a lot of job descriptions, doing a lot of research, and I know other members of the board have as well. And so we're not rushing this. And I appreciate that Dustin, I believe, has gone over this job description. And, I trust his judgment and, of course, his legal expertise. And I've looked at it, and I don't have a problem with it. And my point here is that if we can get past this, then we can really concentrate on the district manager's position. That's the primary focus we should be spending our time on. That's my opinion. And so that's where I'm at. So, comments?
George?
A couple of things. First, if it's the board's pleasure to go to committee, I believe it should go to the standing committee of the Administration and Personnel Committee, would be the appropriate one. But second, the Policies and Procedures Manual of the district is a guidance document for staff and the public. The majority of the board can override that policy whenever their pleasure sits. Just like when a customer has a request to come before you they have an issue with the policy and ask you in their one certain situation to make an adjustment. And the boards have done that in the past because that's your role. So trying to delay this to get the Policies and Procedures Manual to match what you're doing tonight is not necessary. So, thank you.
Thank you, George. And I have to go back to my question to Dustin and simply and it's not really a question at this point because you've already answered it, it's just a comment, just to reiterate what you said, that there is nothing in either contract that would hinder or hamper his performance either as the interim manager or as his new position as assistant district manager and CFO. Based on that, and again, I don't think we're rushing it. I think you can only chew food for so long before it comes mush. You got to swallow it pretty soon. And I already see what it tastes like. And I think it's time to get this behind us and move on to like what Mark said, which is the important thing, which is setting our goals to finding the appropriate district manager to replace George Barber. That's the more important, and we need to get this out of the way and move on because we've got a lot of business to take care of. And I personally think we've spent a lot of time discussing this already, and we just need to make a decision.
So I move the question, Mr. President.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
All in favor of what?
The motion that was
Motion.
Motion on the floor.
The motion to suspend this?
To put it into the bylaws
Bylaws,
committee.
the bylaw.
Bylaws committee
Put
to
it the job-
review
refer it.
the job description.
To put it off, yeah.
Put it off. Okay. Postpone.
So who votes for it? Yes, Dan?
No,
You vote for it, I vote for it.
I seconded it, so.
No.
Okay, it fails. Kevin, what's the situation with the retirement funds?
Well, I think that's kind of off topic at this point, so.
No, it's on topic for your performance.
Okay, we're still working with the union to come up with a RFP for it to be dispersed, and also we are working together on finalizing the numbers and working with a proposed auditor for that fund.
How long have you been working on it?
Point of order, Mr. President. We're not following the agenda at all. We should move on to this item B and then to process water recycle project.
Well, we
We're
have.
not following the agenda.
That's fine. What would you like us to do?
I'd like us to move on to B, which is make a vote on
Interim general.
interim general manager.
Make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the appointment of Kevin as the interim manager based on the contracts that are put in front of us.
I'll second that.
Can we have discussion?
Yes, that's what I would put in front of you guys making a motion. Go ahead. Time for asking questions and
And
discussion.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but could I move to divide the question?
How do you want to divide it?
So that would be an amendment to the motion to take up the interim district manager agreement first.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to take up the interim agreement first.
Do we have a second?
Do I have a second? Or do you want to do it together? Okay.
Sure, I'll second that. That's okay.
Could I ask for some clarification here? Wouldn't the procedure be to take up the decision of the second contract that you're questioning first and get a decision on that, and then move to the first contract? That's the sticky point right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So shouldn't we resolve that before would that be the proper procedure?
Maybe, Ann, if you can just express your concern. Are you wanting to?
Okay, this is my concern.
Okay.
I just don't believe our district is large enough to accommodate an assistant manager position, that's all. And it just puts another level of bureaucracy in there that I don't see that we need, and nothing, personal about job, performance or anything. It's just I don't see it. We have 45 employees, 26,000 population. There's just not that large of a company or a district to warrant that position, in my opinion. And by putting in another layer, then that's another layer of salary, and then that's going to take the district manager's salary as well.
Actually, Ann, that was the part that we were stuck on when we met at the special meeting, but Kevin has stated that he's going to go back to his normal salary.
But eventually that position will incur a greater salary, just by virtue of the title. Because you have two people, doing two positions. And eventually I can see it splitting out all by itself. So you'll have an assistant district manager, then you'll have a chief financial officer. So then you'll have two where you had one.
It does have a tendency to grow. Government does that, doesn't
Yes.
it?
I see that.
And that's my opinion.
I think, and maybe you can speak to this, Dustin, but I think sometimes the title is what somebody's looking for in a path forward to a career. And I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, 'cause I'm speaking out of turn, but if it were me, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and I'm saying that I may be the CFO today. Tomorrow, if they can call me the assistant district manager, then at some point in time, maybe I have a road to progress to become the district manager. And at that time, you would assume that salary.
I feel there's nothing to preclude a CFO from applying for a general manager position if he feels he's ready and has the experience, he or she.
Yeah, and I don't think he's saying that right now, that he's ready for the full time.
Yeah, I didn't, mean it specifically.
Yeah. No.
I just meant in general.
A good point.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Ann, and I understand that about the growth, of the position. But I don't foresee that happening for quite a long time in our district. I like the idea of putting the additional responsibility in that position. Like I mentioned before, it's a chain of command thing, and we know exactly who's going in there. There doesn't have to be look around for somebody to fill that spot. And I do like the idea of what you're saying. It gives someone a chance to improve their resume, shall we say. It gives them that responsibility. They can say that I've assumed that position. And again, I've looked at all these job descriptions. I've been going on the internet, looking all around, and they're out there, even in the smallest districts. The Fair Oaks Water District, very similar to ours in size, has a similar position. So I don't have a problem with it. I don't think it's really a problem for our district either, actually.
I've been told that, at least by one person who wants to apply for the manager's job, that this being out there is going to hold some people back from applying because they realize the district is small and they don't see the thing. They just see it as a place where Kevin is selected to be the next manager, or even in the process we go through now. And we'll keep some people from applying for the job as manager, district manager. And people who we're probably going to pull from is going to be people in the North Valley, because they will come in at the wage level we've talked about. And this man's going to send his application care of me, because the agreement was we would just hang on to him. So that was one thing he brought up, and I sort of agree with him, and I agree with what Ann's saying, because we are a small district. We don't need additional titles. Kevin could get by fine, as far as I'm concerned, as Chief Financial Officer, and that's why I was hitting at the job description, because the major changes here are changes that touch on the manager's job. If you really read the things in red and see why they have to be there. Kevin is, with his present job description, has been intern basically every time George went on vacation. The only difference now is that you won't have George to talk to on the phone. He'll have to make decisions and come to whoever he thinks would help him make the decision, and our staff and so forth. So I don't think it's necessary to have the assistant. In fact, I think it'll work against us as a district looking for a new manager.
If a potential district manager were scared off by a CFO being the interim manager, I'm not sure we would want him for the job anyway.
But I understand Ann's position, and so that's what you just have to vote around, because then wherever this goes, if it gets voted down, well, then maybe Ann just needs to make the motion that we potentially offer him the job without the name change. I mean, that sounds like that's the next logical move. And so you can still hire him without the name change if he would be willing to.
Georgiana, read,
Correct. Right.
Ann's motion back, please.
Yeah.
It was Cliff's motion.
Well, Cliff's motion was to approve the appointment of Kevin Phillips as interim manager based on the contracts presented.
And I don't think Ann actually made a motion, she
Yes,
just
she
made.
made a
She did.
motion.
I made a motion to divide the question.
Oh, you made a motion,
And
okay.
to,
Was that seconded?
and
or-
to
It was
consider-
seconded by Mark.
Mark,
And to consider this, the interim district manager first.
Okay,
Consider that.
that's right. So,
Have we been in discussion about that now? Right.
Yes.
Right.
okay, so,
We're
good,
discussing.
okay.
And-
So, do we open that up to the public for their comment on that?
yeah, I'm just
Yes.
waiting to see if
Yep.
any more, you are through or everybody else is through on the board for now.
I think we're all pretty clear where we stand on this.
Okay,
Thank you, Board. Lauren Harvey. I'd like to see you do away with the assistant manager, and if we're going to give Kevin the job, I want him to have the district manager, which we renamed it last time, right?
Yes.
So he should be the district manager and the CFO, and here's why. He's top dog. The minute you give that job to him, so he ain't assisting anybody other than God and his own conscience. So he should have the job of, if you're going to give it to him, he should have the job of the district manager or general manager, whichever one, interim general manager or interim district manager and CFO. That's the only fair thing to do. I don't know why we're discussing assistant, because he's not. The man's going to, if he takes the job, he's going to take the job for what it's worth, and that's it. And George is out of here, so he doesn't have. He's not assistant to anybody.
No,
That's what
you're
I'm-
confusing his title as the interim manager with his ultimate title after we hire a new manager.
Well, that's a decision should be made down the road once we see his performance as a general manager or district manager, whichever one you want to call it. That should be made down the road, because then we can make a performance call on what the man did while he was there. But basically, you're making him district manager and CFO, and I don't think it's fair to him personally to make him. If you're going to hire him to do that job, then let's just make him the manager, because that's in fact what he is. He's not assisting anybody.
See, Lauren, I think that's the point that Ann is stating.
Yes,
So.
and I appreciate that, because I realize that's what you were making, and that's why I got to speak on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you. Good evening again. This is a public meeting. This is the agenda for the public meeting. And B says, consider appointment of an interim general manager in terms of appointment of interim general manager. Kevin's name's not on here. And I believe you are out of order to add something to a public agenda that is not in writing. This room may have been overwhelmed with people either in favor of getting Kevin or against getting Kevin in this position. And by not having this properly agendized, I don't think it's appropriate for you to put something on a public meeting agenda that's not in writing for the public. Thank you.
Thanks, Ward.
That's
It's right there.
Frank, do you want to talk?
interesting.
Frank Hunt. This is supposed to be the business of water, not creating different forms of management. This is a business of water. And I would feel that anyone working for the district would have an identification situation that says, I'm working for this district, I'm working for the public. And therefore, no matter who we ask to be a temporary person to help, okay, they should just be proud that they've got an opportunity to go do it. The business of creating new titles and so on, okay, is not necessary, okay? The necessary purpose now is to find a new manager, permanent new manager, okay, and get involved. And stop and think, because there is a history about some of this, okay? It's very, very interesting history. Most of it's kind of a hearsay type nature, okay? But there are people in the past, okay, who were asked to do something or who were, they said, I'll do it, but I won't do it again, okay? They did not like, there were elements of the district that they just didn't care to be involved in, okay? And so I don't know what those were, but I just know that they say that, okay? So let's get back to the business of moat water. There's no need to get involved in the legal aspects of all these things. Someone says, I'll step forward and I'll help out for the time being. Let's move on, okay? Please consider that, because word eventually gets about, yeah, some of this history is really something. And I have documents for a lot of things, too, that show the history, okay? So let's get back to the business of water, okay? And we don't have to get creative otherwise. And your position, I thought was appropriate. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Frank. Okay. Yes, please say your name.
Mary Esela. I just wanted to go back to, excuse me, a few minutes ago, and you asked a question about dividing that, and Dustin said it would be appropriate to ask Kevin. He was interrupted and he wasn't allowed to finish, and I was thinking that maybe it would be a good idea to finish, let him finish speaking to that issue of dividing them.
Thank you, Mary.
Anybody else from the public like to comment? Back to the board then.
Can I ask you, Dustin, is the agenda item, are we okay on that?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
very comfortable with it.
Thank you.
And remember, this is the
Continued from
exact same language you had at the special meeting, and you had at least one other applicant at that time. So,
Thank you.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Do we want to vote on it now? Or
You guys have got a double motion and second, so.
The first motion?
vote on the amendment to the first motion, it was Ann's motion. And so, Georgiana, we need that back to us.
So let's be clear what we're voting on.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking Georgiana to repeat the motion.
Thank you, Bill.
The motion by Director Rice was to discuss the interim general manager agreement first, and that was seconded by Director Solberg.
To vote on it
To vote on it.
first, to divide the
To
question.
vote to split, to separate the two.
So can we ask Kevin then to give us his comments on his adaptability to that motion?
At this point, I mean, I'm going to leave it up to you guys on how you guys want to handle it. I feel like the amendments to the agreement, to the job description, are things I've been doing. I've filled in. I agree with Mark. I feel like every time that the general manager is not here, it is a issue of appointment. It's an issue of who is going to step in. The general manager position of the district is a position that carries a lot of weight in making decisions on a lot of different things. There are lots of resolutions that have gone through this district that appoint him as the contact man that no one else has the ability to do any of that. So when a general manager is not present, normally I do step in and I fill that role. I don't believe that I've taken salary completely off the table. I'm not looking to gouge the district later on for this. I do believe also that if I was ever to leave that position, correct me, Dustin, if I'm wrong, it doesn't mean that the district has to fill that direct position. They could fill it back to a finance officer, office manager. Whatever they would like to do, they could do. I'm a contracted employee. I'm not an employee inside of some bargaining group. I'm separate from that bargaining group. Therefore, that's why I believe that I deserve this title change. The other issue is I don't feel like I'm bombarding you with this. The reason why I'm tying it together is because I'm trying to protect myself that if I am appointed interim GM and tomorrow the district finds their general manager, well, then I'm not the interim GM, which is fine. They found their district manager, but I also wanted to kind of fall back into that title that I was kind of stepping up to the plate, doing the things, doing double duty, doing this for the district, and I believe for the betterment of the district to step into this role as long as it's necessary to do. And that's why I felt like once that's done, and that's why I'm linking these two, because I don't want to come to the board, hey, we're hiring a general manager tomorrow. Well, now where am I at within this negotiation process?
Kevin, can I ask you this? Would you be amenable to the board evaluating your performance while you were the general interim or the district manager, and then based on your performance making a decision as to whether or not you earned this new title?
That's what I said last meeting.
Yeah.
Would you be amenable to that?
At this point, that's fine.
Okay, so maybe,
go to the next
Ann, you
page.
could withdraw that motion and reform that motion to the change in the contract to that, to make this go forward?
Yeah, because if she withdraws her motion, and as long as you all are in agreement, then we could, but of course, if
So we can amend-
if three of us agree, then it is split, then it goes back to the motion to approve his original contract without the change.
Doesn't change my
Yeah.
vote for the interim management, or the assistant manager
Right.
position. So my motion stands, and we can, if it's defeated,
And
we
he's
can go
already
on from
seconded
there.
it, yeah.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Now, does everybody
Yes.
understand? I'll go back to where I was until the discussion started.
Correct.
again. Does everybody understand the motion? So I'm going to ask Georgiana again to read
Yeah.
Ann's motion.
Can I rescind my second, or is that?
Oh, yeah, you can.
So you don't want to see it split, you want to keep it.
Well, I'm just not sure where we're going with it. I guess.
Okay, well, what she's suggesting is that we separate the
Vote
two.
in two pieces.
And so voting in two pieces. So if you maintain your second and the motion goes through, one more person votes on it, then it goes back to his, which that would die, because if three people have voted, you're not going to vote something different.
Okay.
And then it goes back to his dies, and then it goes back to another motion being made to approve the single only, the original recital only, yeah.
Okay, I understand.
So we can disapprove the second contract then, in effect, and approve
First one.
The
the first one with the caveat that the board agrees to evaluate his interim performance.
Correct. Because if he does an outstanding job,
So that's
then I'm
something
all
we can
for
bring
it.
separately as an action.
Yeah.
If I could direct your attention to item 7, that's already part of Kevin's proposal. That is, you are going to evaluate him separately, as during the time period he would be acting as the interim district manager. You evaluate him in that role, and then also as continuing his duties as CFO. What I hear you saying, perhaps, I may be wrong, but there may be an added clause there that if his performance evaluation as the interim district manager reaches some level, satisfactory or better, that then there may be
The name change.
Right.
So that's what you said, that's what I said last meeting.
Okay, but
Yeah.
let's vote on
Right.
Ann's motion.
Okay.
Let me bring one more topic up. All right, so then would we bring this back up after this?
Yes, correct.
That
Right.
it would be included in the...
No. By voting what you seconded is we're separating them.
Separate.
Separate.
And any director can agendize your idea of evaluating again at the end of his.
To potentially give him that bump, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That can come up anytime.
So we're voting to approve the separation of these two
Correct.
proposals.
That's it.
And then we'll vote on the proposal number 2.
Correct, together.
Either yay or nay,
Right.
and then we'll vote on the first proposal.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Yay.
Now, everybody understands
So
what
now
you're voting.
we're
do.
actually voting on dividing the question.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes or no?
Somebody say the word question, please.
I move the question.
Okay, now, Georgiana, we're going to confuse it more. Will you make it a roll call vote, please?
Yes, that's a good idea.
Director Wetlands?
Aye.
Director Rice?
Aye.
Director Solot?
Aye.
Director Jacobson?
Aye.
President Kellogg?
I don't believe it. Aye.
Hey.
We are reasonable people, Bill.
Okay, now it goes
say-
back. Now it goes back to your original motion and Mark second. Yeah.
Okay, let's hear
Which,
that motion.
which that technically will have to die because you
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
Well, it's been amended. The way I understood the procedure here, your motion has now been amended to
Correct.
now take up the two agreements, two proposals separately.
yeah.
Correct. Okay. So the proposal that I originally made the motion on still stands. We need to vote on that now.
Yeah.
Do we accept Kevin's
Proposal. Yeah.
proposal to become our interim district manager?
That's
Is that
correct.
right, Georgiana?
a motion?
Yes, and you already seconded it.
Yes, Georgiana, Cliff's motion, please, from your notes.
Well, your original,
You kind of massaged it a little
Yeah,
bit, but
yeah.
basically it's to
Okay.
prove it.
Read it back.
You just read it back.
Please
It's
Let me-
read back, Georgiana. Cliff, hold off and let.
If I may, let me try to clarify. The original motion by Director Jacobson was to approve both contracts.
Correct.
Director Rice amended the motion to take the two contracts separately. That, in my opinion, leaves your motion as taking up only the interim district manager agreement
Correct.
at this time.
Her motion amended mine.
Yeah.
Right. So you can take that up right now, and then once that's concluded, you can decide if you want to take up the other item.
Okay.
Georgiana, do you understand that for your notes?
Do I understand? Yeah. So now we have discussion
I think
on
he
this?
wants you to do a roll call, thank you, not a verbal, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do another roll call on this, because I really don't, now we're voting on the whole contract, is that it?
Just the one piece.
Just the one.
We're voting on the interim district manager position,
The one page,
accepting,
Well, 2 pages, but
yeah, well, no, I mean, sorry, the
What are
original.
we accepting?
we're accepting his proposal to become our interim district manager.
Okay. Georgiana, roll call, please.
Director Whitmer?
Even though I have felt like we need to be putting on the brakes, take it easy, we're not in a rush on this, I'm kind of interested in getting it past us, so I'll say yes. Aye.
Director Rice?
aye.
Director Solik?
Aye.
Vice President Jacobson?
Aye.
No,
President Kellogg?
no.
I would have lost anyway, so. Congratulations, Kevin.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you for the offer, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, what do you want to vote on?
We know you
Just
do.
now, since we separated the things, is there anything else necessary to vote on?
And then we need to hear from you.
Done.
You have to vote on the second part.
Okay, what's the second part?
Amendment to my
Employment agreement,
employment agreement.
And this is the one that has the title in it?
title change.
Okay.
So to maybe try to speed this along, it could be a motion to accept, it could be a motion to reject, it could be a motion, the theme I heard.
Motion's on the table to accept it, because his motion was to
Right.
accept it, so it needs to
All
just
right.
be voted on.
Good point.
So,
Or else I would have assumed that by virtue of no motion, nothing happens.
no, there's a motion on the table
Okay.
to accept both agreements, and they were separated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, do we need another motion?
No.
Second.
Yeah.
This is the one that
This
Ann
is-
wanted
That you
to
wanted,
set
no.
aside,
Yeah, correct.
and we separated them successfully.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin's amenable to
Yeah.
you need to vote on
But you
that.
need to vote on it, so it's
To
just.
accept.
Yeah.
To accept it or not, so.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's
So-
your motion?
He already did
We've
it.
already made the motion and seconded it,
So,
roll call vote?
Would you repeat?
No.
that Before we understand exactly and the public understands what we're
Yeah.
voting
The
on?
motion is to accept the employment agreement as stated.
The amendment.
The
to
amendment,
employment
yeah.
agreement.
Employment
yeah.
Agreement, to accept it or reject it, or,
The motion is to accept the amendment to the employment agreement.
okay.
No.
No.
So Director Whitmer?
I spoke too early, I'm sorry. No.
No.
Director Solik?
Aye.
Director Jacobson?
No.
Director Kellogg?
No.
Yeah. So it's 4-1. Still congratulations.
Congratulations, Kevin.
Now, can I make a motion?
No, I want to.
No.
Very quickly.
I want to make a break. Is what I have to do.
Move for recess?
Bring your motion up. I think we all deserve a break. About a 10-minute break.
I'll second the motion. I guess we can break.
If you're going to make a motion concerning the ACOM process, the C
Pretty much involved. Okay. I just wasn't sure who, Bill and of
Yes,
course
I
the
believe so.
late guys, I know. Jason. I know. Because I got to.
Hey, we got 10 things to go, so let's roll.
next thing on the agenda is wait a minute.
C, 6C,
Oh,
yes.
it's energy saving projects, but that's not what's on the agenda.
No, 6C.
Then that's down under new business. What we have next on the agenda is C, process water recycle project, next steps, and manager Barber.
Okay, this is a carryover from the last meeting. So I've given a few options to kind of help you keep things moving forward on this process and this project. And I've given you some correspondence from AECOM, and Dustin can speak to this, but they're willing to give you a price to design and bid the pond alternative if the district's willing to enter into a non-disclosure agreement. That just protects their numbers if you do decide to go out to bid. So that's an option for you to consider tonight. And then you could also consider just moving forward with seeking proposals from all comers, all engineering firms for that design and bid documents for a pond alternative. And the last would be to consider using AECOM to develop the pond alternative just for a design build contract. So what that means is they've done design build contracts before. They would be precluded from joining a contractor on this project if you went that direction, but they would be an assistant to the district. So they would recommend a few studies probably that would help get you better bids on a design build, some more geotech work around the ponds, things like that. They would be able to finalize the environmental document and take you through that process. The bottom line is there's really no, if I got a pretty clear message from the board that the mechanical alternative is not a direction you want to head. And if that's the case, there's really no option that doesn't include rebuilding those ponds. Mm-hmm. So what I've presented to you in the past is an option that makes that work and also includes recycling. It gets those ponds built, and it's a path. It sets the district up for a path. So if NPDES permit requirements got onerous, you would have the ability to switch over and deal with those last little bit of water and go to full recycle. So it's not money spent in a wrong direction. So
George, could you clarify something basically for the general public as well? What we're talking about taking into consideration tonight is not any physical building of anything. We're talking about asking whether or not we want AECOM to complete plans for us to send out for bid to actually build something.
Yes.
Because I've heard a lot of confusion as to we're voting to do that, and we're not. We're just, we've spent money having AECOM produce plans that are 70% complete, just a set of plans to build something.
yes.
And that cost money to design and engineer that and create those plans. And all we're asking them to do now is, do we want AECOM to submit the rest of those plans for a fee to us, or do we want to go out to somebody else?
No, not the rest of those plans.
No, not, but the modified.
Yeah.
But no construction. We're only talking about designing a system here, and do we want AECOM to finish it, or do we want to go out and ask other people to bid us on finishing it?
And what you're doing is you've invested in intellectual capital getting AECOM up to speed, understanding the project, understanding how the plant works, understanding the needs of our staff, what their concerns are and issues. And so by continuing with them, you're leveraging that. If you were to go out to bid for other engineering firms to do the pond alternative, you're just going to waste a lot of time and effort getting that new team up to speed and understanding all of the issues surrounding how the plant works, how it operates, the types of water it generates, etc. That's a lot of effort that you're going to have to endure timing-wise, and probably money-wise. I mean, I can't guarantee that AECOM's going to come in with the least price, but sometimes you get what you pay for too. So, but my point of bringing this up last week, after talking to Cliff, and it being up tonight, is just encouraging you to keep moving forward. The agencies that that permit us on this are keeping an eye on the district. They want to make sure that we're moving forward in a positive manner, and this would be a good faith effort to them that the district is.
I got a question. If we were to choose the II proposal there, item, is there a chance that if other agencies were looking at it, that some of them, because of being fresh, would say, hey, have you considered doing this? It could save you $500,000, or is anybody that's going to come in, are they going to look at what we've got and just simply duplicate what's there, what we've proposed? Is anybody going to have a fresh idea that might save us a lot of money?
Well, I can't say they won't.
But it's not likely?
Mechanically wise, it's probably not likely.
Okay.
Pond wise, a pond's a pond, and I think AECOM's going to work with you. There's certainly different levels of investment in that pond to make it more effective or less, or whether you spend money to be able to drive on it or not, and those types of decisions will certainly be part of it. But I don't. I mean, we've looked at this 9 ways to Sunday, and I don't think there's a magic bullet out there.
Okay. Well, that was my lack of knowledge, my ignorance in regards to this kind of thing that made me ask that. That's all.
I've got another question, George. So we've paid them for 70%, so we own those plans. Those are ours.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if we did select item number 2 and seek proposals, we would provide what we have to the potential bidders on finishing a new project for us or not?
It's a different project.
No, it's a different project.
Different project.
Yeah.
Some aspects intermingled.
There is
but
components.
they're going to have to have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
They're going to have to see what is, because if we paid them 70% to complete these plans, they have a lot of data that's already been collected that these new bidders would have to start from scratch. So their cost to give us a set of finished plans would be astronomically more because we've already paid for 70%. The only way we can be talking apples to apples is to give them the same starting point. Am I not correct in that?
There's
There's components of the project that are likely going to carry over. There's geotechnical studies that will be appropriate to everybody. So we would be getting all that information. We've paid for it.
We would not be holding that back.
No, of course
we
not.
would be giving that to potential bidders to make sure they had all the information that they needed to give us a good solid bid.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, aside from the fact that AECOM might want to be exclusive, they're going to bid it as well, right? They just won't tell us how much until everybody else opens up the bid.
That's what they indicated in their letter.
Yeah.
What would it hurt us then to open it up to as many potential bidders as possible and give them all the same data to work with? Like Dan said, maybe we'll catch something we weren't expecting, which might be surprisingly nice. I'm just wondering.
It's possible. It's
I mean,
time.
what's the downside of that?
Downside is time. You're going to spend a couple months at least before you get a set of proposals in front of you.
But are you saying AECOM will give us a proposal quicker?
I don't think so.
Yes.
In our experience with AECOM, it just seems to me that they haven't provided us product in a timely fashion. Took them over 2 years to get a 70% plan.
They have had issues, but remember there was a contract pause in the middle of that didn't help the
That's right,
situation
pause.
either.
That's true.
That's
We
correct.
stopped paying for a while, yeah.
And then remember the precursor to this letter was their refusal to even provide us without the bid.
Yeah, and that's
So-
when I followed up with them, and that's when they came back with
Different, yeah.
non-disclosure would be acceptable.
Yeah. I'm not that enamored with ACOM.
Fine.
Yeah,
For a motion now?
personally lean towards the second, the double I item, but
Cliff, you said before we went to break you had a motion.
I kind of like the triple I, the design build.
Not from there.
Ann and I went over to South Feather, and that's what they're doing right now, and a very successful project so far, apparently.
If I may-
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, go ahead and finish.
Oh, I was just going to say that apparently no change orders or and claims. Claims, that's a big thing, so.
Well, I think, but we need to make a motion before so we can discuss it according to Robert's rules, right? So,
not really, you can discuss it.
so I make a motion that we, let's see, review the letter submitted by ACOM and consider providing direction to PID staff regarding the proposed project with the following potential options. So I make a motion that we accept one of these three, and I think we need discussion on that before we decide which one. So let's put it on the table and let's discuss the three options, because one of the three we got to make a decision on. We can't not make a decision tonight because we're just putting it off again, and we need to move forward. We need to take a path and then head down that road, get it done.
You do not need a motion
You
to
don't
talk
need
about
a
it.
motion.
Yeah, we're just talking.
We can,
Well,
we
then-
can talk about all three of the options or other options if you like.
Well, then I move we can consider seeking, it would be double I, consider seeking a request for proposal for design and bid documents for the pond alternative.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
Yes.
I got a question for Kevin, possibly, on the budget. I looked in the budget. We still got some money left in the project. It's 193.
That's
1,000,
right, on
okay.
the contract, the original contract.
Right.
So when
we could take that money and plug it in over. Whoops.
yeah,
plug it in over here somewhere.
I would be discussing with ACOM if they were to rebid this on how we would move monies from the one contract to the other
Right.
based on items that were not completed within the one
Right.
contract, how those would be credited over to the other contract.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Right.
Yeah.
So if we could use that money. Okay.
Good point. And would we lose that money if we opted to go with another firm?
No, because it's
Well,
a
no,
70%
I mean,
contract.
whatever we haven't
so-
paid, we wouldn't lose.
We wouldn't owe it to them and have to pay that?
There's a cancellation
Yeah, we.
provision in
There is a cancellation fee.
I
What-
include termination clauses in almost every contract that PID enters into that says we can terminate this with or without cause. Without cause is just basically we've decided to go a different way.
So we wouldn't owe them any more than at that point if we decide to go with somebody else?
Correct.
Okay, good. That's good clarification.
Because if I understand correctly from this, by going this choice, this middle choice, they are not precluded from joining the bid.
Correct.
They too could bid. We're just
Correct.
going to open it to other people.
Yes.
And that's what I think the public in the past has said, let's open it up, open it up. So that's part of the reason I'm going that direction.
If we went with double I, realistically, if we fast track this, I mean, George, I'm going to ask you because you got the experience. If we tried to fast track this, what are we talking about?
Well, it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks minimum for Jim and Kevin to get an RFP out. And then probably another 6 weeks at least that
Yeah.
you have to have time for them to come visit the site, put their proposals together, et cetera. So you're 2-month minimum.
And I thought Neil was working on an RFP for that, for the pond alternative.
Neil and Jim, and
Okay.
it's a team effort.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're currently working on that right now anyway. And we'd have to provide that to ACOM as well, right?
Yes, we would. They'd have an opportunity.
Does the public have any comments before we move to vote?
Yes, thank you. Are you surprised? Look, here's two things that are really significant about this. You beat it into our heads, the public. You beat it into our heads that the aluminum carryover into processed water is wrong. We can't do that. The government don't like it. Okay, so that has to change. So we have to do something. But the public's problem, once you got into the discussion about this, it goes from $6 million to $9 million to $12 million, $15 million, $18 million. If you're still going to do something, quit screwing around and tell the public, hey, we have enough money, we don't have enough money, we have to do this. We did not appreciate all the being jerked around with all the different dollars we heard about the processed water recycling project. And frankly, in my research, AECOM is well respected. They are. They've done jobs similar to this in a lot of other communities. They're not the only ones that do it, but they're well respected. If we stick with them, fine. If we go with somebody else that's just as good, fine. But let's not jerk the public around anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Ward.
Lauren again, I guess.
Thank you. Warren Harvey. I feel that that AECOM has deserved the right to bid on the thing. I'd just like to make sure that it's open to other people and stop what they're doing now. Obviously, they got direction from general manager to do what they did, and now we got a new general manager, and he's gonna go with the bonds and stuff. So I'm really happy. Let's just get it over with and give them a shot at it, and give everybody else a shot, and let's move on.
That's
getting me on.
what
Thanks,
the motion
Lauren.
is.
Anybody else out from the public? Let's have a vote now.
Mr. President, can I ask if it's appropriate, Jim, you're the plant manager up there, could you speak a little bit to your opinion on this subject? You, after all, are the one that is going to have to work with them.
Well, of course, I work at the pleasure of the board, whatever decision you make. But I was asked a specific question about, I think, which option you think, in my opinion. So, a little bit I know about design and build is that the concern with that option is the design is, there's cost issues for the consultant that's doing the design, but since AECOM's already done the design, those kind of cost issues go away with design build because they've already invested a lot of money in design. Having a design build project will speed it up. We kind of need to get moving. So I think you understand the flaw in design build is design cost. So this going with option 3 might resolve that. We've already spent a whole lot of money on design. Just take advantage of the components that we have designed. AECOM's best to insert those components into the pond alternative properly. Excuse me. That's in terms of your concerns about, the public wants us to just get these, find as many consultants as possible. It's a lot of time. You never know. I think the learning curve that AECOM's invested in and staff has invested in AECOM kind of makes seeking proposals from others kind of a moot issue. The public would like to see us do that. I think it's kind of a moot issue on 2. No. I'm pretty direct. And then number 1 makes sense, but doesn't address the design build option 3 that I kind of tried to give you some justification to consider that option. But certainly number 1 is utilizing AECOM effectively also. But then it would be a classic, you would no longer have the design build option, then you would be just doing plans and specs and bidding it out to contractors. But then you get the benefit of well, seeking contractors that will hopefully bid the project well and won't receive change orders, and that's all really risky. Go that way. It's the conventional way to go. You might get a really low bid. You can save a whole lot of money if you go that way with one, because you're going to bid it out in a conventional way. And Dan might be able to talk a little bit about design build versus, I don't know if you have any knowledge, but I guess these are the best I can do of helping.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have we had any experience, Jim, with ACOM and design build on anything else in the past?
We haven't, but I think their letter, I haven't actually read that last paragraph completely. Maybe George can summarize the last about what they say about design build, George, and their competency. Is that what's the...
Yeah, basically, they've been involved in them before, so they know what design build team's looking for, what information will help them bid it the lowest, and they would help the district do that. And then they could be your engineering spokesperson through that process to make sure if Jim feels like this team is heading in a wrong direction or is not explaining something correctly, then you bring AECOM in to kind of be the referee.
Follow up. Only the largest firms do design build. You don't get any of the little guys. And AECOM is one of the largest, so I'm sure I don't know their resume of projects they've done. It might be interesting to look at eventually, but
Thank you, Jim.
I'm sure they're well suited.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that.
So, George, in your opinion, because I don't have much experience with design build, maybe Dan can speak to this too, but really, where are we better off? Are we better off with ACOM doing the design build? Are we up for grabs the other way? Is there a big,
Design build, and Dustin might have an opinion on this too. It's a pretty new and emerging way of doing business. The benefits are you get rid of change orders. There's no change orders. There's no project changes, etc. It takes a lot of that fighting out of the process, which is kind of nice for a district. It is new way of doing business. We haven't done it before, so there's a bit of a learning curve. We also have to make sure that SRF, our potential low interest funding, they do design build, but Kevin would have to work with them on transitioning our project not only to the new alternative, but also to a design build process. So if you were to go in that direction, part of that is Kevin taking off and getting those answers for you as far as that goes. The other benefit is you could have a design build contract probably by the end of the year, and that's a really good message to the regulators because now you're committed to actually building it. If you do design the traditional process, even with AECOM, you're going to go out to bid probably by the end of the year, so you'll probably be okay. But if you go out to bid to other engineering firms, adding 2 months, bringing them up to speed, then designing the project, you're definitely going to be bouncing against that deadline of when you're actually supposed to be doing something.
With the design build, are we looking at them giving us something turnkey that they stand behind, or are we still on our own and they're just going to build what we say, and if it doesn't work, it's our problem?
You basically, you set your parameters. So you say, we have this pond alternative. These are the components we need. This is our end game. And the bidders tell you how they're going to build it, how they expect to build it, and what that price would be. So by going with the design build option, they basically own it, and they're responsible for the outcome. Making it work, yep.
I like that, actually.
But anybody would be, in my experience, too. And typically, design build is going to cost you more. Because you're going to, if when you've got a hungry market out there, and it's still a hungry market, I don't know what it's going to be like a year from now, with Trump and expansion and so on and so on. Have no idea. Nobody does. Nobody's got that crystal ball. But if you go out to bid, if you send out a set of plans and 10 people are bidding on it, you're going to get a lower price than somebody that's design build almost always.
And I just want to speak to the option one. The reason I don't like that one is I think it just delays us. I think what would happen is we're going to consider them, we'll ask them for the design bid and agree not to share it, and then we're going to get it back, and we're not going to know much more than we do now, and we're going to say, I still want to know what other people will bid. And so we're just going to further delay ourselves. So I'm still
one is the worst option. Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to answer what you're talking about here, Dan, a little bit. I've been involved in some pretty big, good-sized projects. The last one was $46 million, and it was we always did low bid. And the problem, there's always problems on the project, and the problems are that you get these change orders and claims. And, you might have a great bid price that's really low, but by the time of the end of the project, whatever savings you had are totally gone because you paid in all these change orders and claims that
you do your homework on the person. You definitely don't always take the low bidder.
Right.
Well,
definitely don't take the low
okay,
bidder.
I agree.
Don't ever lock yourself into
policy,
that.
I guess.
Yeah. You do your homework on people that are bidding it, and you find out what their past is. You check back to see what their track record is.
I totally agree, and we've done. And
Right.
my experience is we did all that, and we still got burned. I'm going to call it getting burned, and it happened on every project, and it's pretty typical. And I'm not trying to discourage us, but I'm just saying.
Might be.
And that's where the design build is so beautiful because you've got the buy-in from the contractor. They have a stake in the outcome of the project.
Yeah.
And I really like that idea.
We had that problem just with the plans with AECom. There were several changes in the contract. It raised the price considerably for just the design, and the design isn't finished. We went in at $1,200,000, I think, or something, 200,000, and it just kept creeping up, and it's not finished. So I think that problem is just going to be a problem about construction. And the management of the construction. In most cases, these change orders came back to the board, and the board approved them. So you have that alternate going down the road. I'm in favor of 2 because my biggest problem with the last one was we didn't go out to bid. $1.2 million, the biggest contract this district's ever put out while I was here, and it went to sole AECom, no competitive bids. Now that's legal, but I think it's crazy as a district, with us being responsible for the finances of the district. So I think you don't have to take the low bid, like you said. You can take any in between, but I think it has to go out to bid, so I'm with number 2.
And don't we have the option to change to design build if we,
Yep, absolutely.
our minds?
We're not locked into anything yet. And AECom still is going to be one of the people bidding.
If we decide to go down that route.
And if they're such jet-hot people, then they will bid competitively.
So can we vote? Would everybody like to
So
vote?
we're voting on number 2, right?
2.
Yeah, number 2. Reread it, Georgiana.
Oh, the public.
I don't think we made a motion yet.
No,
Did we?
I moved it. She seconded
Okay.
it.
Well, there's a motion, that's why we need Georgiana to read it back to us.
So we have a motion by Director Wetland, seconded by Director Rice, to recommend option 2, which is to seek requests for proposals for design and bid documents for the farm alternative.
Everybody understands? Is there any more
It's pretty
questions from
elementary.
the board at all?
No.
You want the public to talk?
Already opened.
Do you want to hear public response of it, sir?
Again?
Okay,
Yes.
anybody in the public want to respond to this?
Okay.
No? Okay. Georgiana, roll call again, please.
And design it.
I'm sorry.
Roll call?
I'm sorry. Director Wetland.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Solid.
Aye.
Director Jacobson.
Aye.
President Keller.
Aye, you did it again. Okay.
Maybe it's time to go home.
New
We're
business
ahead.
energy saving project. Treasurer Phillips is going to introduce this.
I'll actually cover that one. Not sure why Kevin was on it. Mark Kindleberger's here from Schneider Electric. I asked him to come up. He's been working with the district for a while on energy savings projects. Haven't found the goose that will lay the golden egg yet, but I wanted to make sure Mark came, explained how they operate, what their process is, and introduce himself to you folks, since we got a new team on board.
Thank you, General Manager Barber. And 5 minutes of informational discussion, no votes, anything like that. So,
Darn.
Mr. President,
We're very relieved. Go ahead.
so am I.
Just don't take too long.
All right. I've timed this at 4 minutes and 8 seconds, so we'll see.
Okay.
So, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Board of Directors, staff, council, and customers.
There's your 8 seconds.
District. I am Mark Kindleberger. I'm a resident of Stockton. Don't hold that against me. And tonight I represent Schneider Electric, and my role is to develop business with cities, counties, and special districts and improve their energy, their water, and their wastewater environments using a design-build process, and we'll get to that in a second also. I am an appointed member of a statewide environmental quality committee, and I'm the elected vice chair of Stockton's Water Advisory Group, and tonight I've been asked to talk about the potential for some municipal solar opportunities within the district. Most all of the federal and state incentives that made solar a no-brainer over the last 10 years are gone. And going forward, in our experience, and generally speaking, solar generation of electricity will pay for itself somewhere between 15 and 19 years, with the forecasted useful life of a solar panel now being described by the California Energy Commission as about 30 years. However, recent applications by our public utilities indicate that they're intending to change something called a time of use rate. Since municipal electricity is not charged for the same kilowatt pricing through any 24-hour period, PG&E has the right and the ability to charge more for electricity during the day when demand is highest and when peak load is highest. So these time of use rates typically occur in the afternoon from about 12 to 6. And what PG&E's applying to the Energy Commission or the CPUC to do is to move that time of use rate from into the evenings, more like 6 to 10. This may seem inconsequential, but in the solar world, it has a tremendous impact. As you know, solar panels only generate electricity when the sun's out. So calculating the value of a solar field is often dependent upon not having to pay for those time of use charges in the afternoon. So if that premium price shifts to the evening, the value of that solar field is diminished in comparison. And I think the CPUC, from everything that I'm reading, is going to approve these rates. PG&E is not alone. The other the public utilities, Southern California Edison, Southern California Gas, are all making the same applications. But there is another solution. I wouldn't come up here with nothing but terrible news. There is a strategy right now that we are employing at Schneider Electric to use large batteries in conjunction with a solar field. And we would charge these batteries very much like your cell phone when the price of electricity is cheap, and then we would discharge those batteries when the price of electricity is expensive. The time of use rates hurt the solar-only strategy a little bit, but it's very, very good for the solar and battery strategy configuration. And right now today, there are some really good incentives in Sacramento if you go the solar and the battery route. So should the district be interested in understanding your options and determining whether there's a business case and whether it makes fiscal sense at all to take a look at solar, then Schneider Electric, on my dime, we would engage with staff and we would produce this business case for discussion and approval or disapproval within the district, within this August body. And we could start that process immediately. So in design-build projects, you've heard design-build before me with the AECOM discussion. I'm a little bit different flavor of design-builder. I'm called an energy service company, so my version of design-build is a little tiny bit different than AECOM's. So in my design-build world, you competitively pick the general contractor, which would be me, and then together we would do the design, you would approve that, and then we would go out to competitive bid for all the other subtrades, and we would agree who those subtrades were and what those prices were, whether we took the cheapest bid or the bid up. It's a mutual decision based upon the history of that subcontractor and their ability to install a top quality project, because I'm going to guarantee the performance of that project. So if I contractually agree with the district that a solar field is going to produce $200,000 a year worth of electricity, and it doesn't, I have to write you a check to make you whole. If you produce more, you get to keep it. If you produce less, and this is a contractual commitment, I write you a true-up check at the end of the year. So for Paradise, I've done a little bit of work. You currently spend about $220,000 a year on electricity. PG&E typically raises all of their rates in any one year about 4%. And in a recent business case that I delivered to a city last Monday, a 1 megawatt solar installation with the battery storage option produced about $204,000 worth of electricity for them. Turnkey costs were roughly $4 million, and calculating in PG&E's rate increases over time and the fact that a solar field is going to diminish in its efficiency over time, we did a net present value life cycle analysis, and this particular opportunity for this city had a 16-year payback. So I believe a project is viable for the district, and if you choose to go forward, I'd be happy on my dime in order to produce that business case, and then you make whatever decisions you would like. And I thank you for your time and attention. This is a little more than 4 minutes and 8 seconds. I apologize. And I'm ready to answer any questions you have or your customers have.
Is that using the Tesla battery cells?
It could. Tesla is one of the batteries. Tesla's a little proprietary.
Yeah.
On Facebook, isn't it?
Too expensive, yeah.
Tesla's a little proprietary about their batteries. So they're an option, but we use an outfit called Green Charge Network. They're our partner in batteries.
Where would you put an array like that at?
We haven't found a place yet.
What would the footprint be?
For 1 megawatt, which may be a little more, a little less, you're going to need somewhere between 2.5 acres. If it's protected, you're probably going to need 3 acres if you have to protect it yourself.
We have 3 acres of sunshine.
Can you split something like that? Have part of the facility here and part of it up where the huge usage is?
Right. So in this particular, the example I gave, this was got a wastewater treatment plant. So we were going to generate a boatload of savings, but it was all going to be used at that plant.
Yeah.
Typically, that's the highest use.
And that's where ours is too.
You could split. You just have to have the sum total of acreage. You could split that around. You can put it on a rooftop. It's not my first choice, but you could. You could put it in covered parking. Not my first choice, but we could seek some land. You could actually.
How much is available in
funding?
Sorry. How much is available in grants or rebates?
There's almost nothing for solar in the term of grants and rebates. The one thing that is still outstanding is there's something called a Krebs bond. It's a clean renewable energy bond. It's issued by the IRS. It's a zero interest bond to the district, and then whoever buys that bond would then take whatever the interest rate would normally be on those bonds, and they can take it as a tax credit. So that could be a zero interest loan. You sort of have to hurry. That's probably going to be.
What kind of warranty on a system like that over the lifetime of our payback?
You just answered that.
Whatever the warranty of the manufacturer that we mutually.
So we could ultimately be left holding the bag if something happened to the system.
That we want to be very careful not to do that.
So $4 million is that up front?
Yes. That's the turnkey cost of installation you would take.
So we'd have to pay you $4 million up front and get the money somehow, borrow it somewhere, and wait 16 years for the payback.
You would have to borrow the money somewhere, but you now, in my design build world, you're taking your $220,000 that you're paying PG&E, which is a liability, and now you're turning that into cash, which then can be used to service the debt. on the floor.
So I guess we'd have to determine if our PG&E bill was higher than the payback on the
Oh, heck
on the
yes.
loan.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
SRF funds available, anything like that?
No, I don't think so on
Probably
something
not.
like this.
I think in the-
But what you would do is you would do exactly that, and that's how it all pencils out. You do a 20-year loan over the life of and a lot of times, if I'm correct, that's normally the warranty on some of those solar panels, 20 years.
Now it's supposed to be
Depends
30.
on who you buy it from.
Okay, is there 30?
Generally speaking, it's about 20 years.
So you would do it over the life of the warranty of the product, and then you would see if that debt service associated with that beats your PG&E bill
Right.
payment, and then therefore then you would pay for the debt service instead of paying for the PG&E.
Are those the panels with the built-in inverters?
They'd have to be, but we would, again, select those mutually. It's not, I'm just not going to throw you a menu of how this thing's going to work out and say, this is how we do things. It's very collaborative.
Well, I personally would have to see a whole lot more information about the whole plan before I would want to.
I would hope that you would. Sometimes I sit behind on the other side, but in order to make an informed decision, you need to have a business case. And I'm willing to fund that business case and come back to you so you can say, well, this makes sense, or this makes absolutely no sense.
No cost to us?
No.
So Mark, what's the warranty on the panels?
Can't beat that.
Generally 20 years.
20?
Okay, it depends on who we buy
Yeah,
it
the
from.
manufacturer, yeah.
In
Well-
this case, I mean, if we were to get
been
the
here
zero
3
interest
times.
credit loan, we're probably going to have to buy U.S. made. You know, when you
Right.
get
Okay.
money from the IRS or you get money from somebody, there may be some conditions on how you buy. We'll have to pay prevailing wage. There's all sorts of things. And if there's an SRF loan involved, which there isn't, then you have to make outreach to disabled, disadvantaged business enterprises. There are strings attached to wherever the money comes from.
But in your experience, you probably have a panel that you guys prefer. I'm sure just through experience, you know what panel works the best right at the moment, probably for you.
Sharp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a 20-year warranty, is what you're saying? Okay. And then also I had a question about your batteries. What's the life expectancy of the battery packs?
Battery expectancy right now, and this is relatively new technology, it's about 12 years.
So who pays for the battery replacement in 12 years? In other words, if
We factor that into the pro forma. You would.
We have a real good track record of battery life around here.
yeah, very good.
I've got one of these that it doesn't even last 3 hours, and it's so hot I could cook an egg on it.
We got some batteries we'd sell you.
I'm with you on batteries. These are all decisions that we would make in this business case, and you're going to replace the batteries. We put it in the pro forma, and if the pro forma says this is a dumb thing to do, then now we know. But now we know.
And if they fail, let's say before the expected life.
There's prorated warranties.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the longest system you have out there now? What?
Oh God, probably in Guam. 92.
92?
Yeah, that's the Coast Guard. That's government. That's federal. So
1992 when you
Yes.
put it in. Okay.
we are a large company. We're worldwide. We're $4 billion. There's 200,000 guys like me running around on the planet doing what we do. We mostly manufacture things electric. We're founded in 1836. Hard to believe I'd ever work for a company that's older than me, but here I am. So, other questions?
So you have your own crews then, and then you just sub out some of the smaller. No,
I was going to subcontract
Oh, yours.
everything.
Okay.
We would find those
Okay.
crews. There are
Okay.
local contractors
Right.
that you probably have great faith in, electrical contractors, plumbers, whatever
Yeah.
subs we may need, and we would encourage their participation, keep that economy, local.
That'd be great.
Well, yes, it would be great. It
Okay.
usually is great. Other questions? Questions here? I'm good. Fire
Are
away.
they poly or mono?
Say again?
Are they poly or mono solar panels?
Poly meaning plastic?
Poly meaning little separate ones that are joined together that you typically use for shade, and the mono ones is one panel. If part of it's shaded, the voltage goes down on. The whole panel?
We're using both depending upon what the customer wants us to do. In one city, we're putting poly, and there's a shade structure in their park next to their plunge, their pool, to provide shade for the citizens in the summertime. So it depends. It depends on what the application is and what you want to do.
And one other question, have you thought about buying a piece of property that's got no, have you thought about in this proposal, say they buy a piece of property and we just make that basically an antenna farm out there? Is that viable in any way?
Yes, it's a little more complicated if I understand your question. So you want a larger solar farm to generate more electricity than you
Well,
need?
say we buy the Walmart property that's just outside of Paradise there.
He wants to talk.
And we make that an antenna farm, and they get the credit because you don't have to have it on the.
Yes, it's an option.
Because then you could use mono cells, which are a lot more efficient than poly cells.
Yeah, but it's too far to take the electricity. If you build immediately adjacent to your facility, then you use it right there.
Okay, everybody, I think
we're wandering.
Okay,
We're
yeah,
not
we're
supposed to
wondering.
do any action tonight.
Yeah.
It's information only.
Yes, you could, however, generate centrally, okay, and apply for a tariff for PG&E. It's called ResBEC.
Ah, yes.
And then you can deal those
That's right.
generation credits out to up to 50 meters within the district. That's another way to do that.
Yep.
So you're not placing
Add to 1 meter
solar
anymore.
at point of use.
Mark?
That is
Yes.
true.
It's time.
Thank you for validating my parking.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mark.
I have a question for George. Do we do off-peak pumping now? Is that when we do, do we have a schedule so that we're always off-peak when we're pumping water? Or we're just not, it's almost so much gravity, we're not pumping too much?
Yeah, we pay attention. We don't have the ability or facilities to completely go off peak, but there's actually the PG&E charts at the controller, the treatment operator's desk. So we make sure A zone is as full as it can be, and we do all we can to minimize those peak. But that's kind of why water and solar does mix. Is when it's hot in the summer, that's when our demands go up.
I would like to see you follow through and get us the appropriate information. For one reason in my mind is that we're considering ozone as an alternative to pre-chlorination of our filtration at the water treatment plant. Not saying that's the way we're going, but if we do, that requires a lot of energy to generate ozone. It may even make more sense.
Yes, I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah. So
I'm all
we'd
for
like to see some more information.
Let's pursue it. Sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything.
We can coordinate this maybe as early as tomorrow.
Thank you.
Next thing on the agenda
Thank you.
is process water recycle project update.
Oh, the public.
Oh.
We forgot the public.
Let's see information only.
Sorry.
But you can still.
Thank you. Not to dead meat by background, but I have some experience in this. I've hosted Solar 101 several times when I was director in Alameda County for the Stop Waste Organization. Here's the thing. In Butte County, we have been one of the leaders in the North State. If you consider the project at Butte College,
It's huge.
with solar to become a zero energy community college, the leader in the state doing that. You look at our county facilities in Oroville,
Also
you can't
huge.
miss it driving by down 70. We were the leader in Northern California with a government entity adding solar to reduce the cost. Over $1 million a year in electric costs. That's pretty impressive. Look locally what we've done on some of our schools and churches. Solar works. There's not a good reason to not do this. Thank you.
See, we could, in theory, reduce our price in half because we can set it up to where instead of paying $200,000 a year to PG&E, we're paying $100,000 to the lending agency, and so we're cutting that in half. Anyway, just all depends on how you set it up.
Okay, everybody, I would like to go home by 10 o'clock
Yeah.
or so. So let's try, most of these items that are coming up are informational only, which means we don't take any action. We do what we just did with the solar panels. We discuss it, try to get informed, and become a little smarter in the process. So the next one is process water recycle project update, Manager Barber.
I'm actually going to pass this over to Jim. He's most up to date on the request for proposals and where we stand. He's been taking the lead on this, and I'll let him handle it.
Okay, so 7B, we did send out 9 consultants, and we didn't get any. They were all vetted and asked for interest by myself, and apparently they were either too busy or for other internal reasons they decided not to. I don't, maybe it was the really long-term pilot testing that I don't know. But nevertheless, rewritten the RFP to include the pilot testing. I called that phase 2. I kind of wanted you to see the RFP in case you had any comments. You wanted to see the last one, and now I'm trying to be upfront and see if you have any comments on this RFP. It does the job and I think that we will get a bid. One of the consultants called me, I don't want to mention their name, apologized for not submitting. And I said, well, don't worry, because
You weren't
back out.
I'm back at you.
Because they were really interested. And I think the others, this next 9 group, they've been vetted, and they all seem interested. Okay, so this is going to go out ideally tomorrow, but I have to give them till June 14th, enough time. So we're losing more time, and then we're going to want the Water Treatment Committee and staff to interview, get a short list. Well, maybe we'll only have a short list when we get responses back, but then we'll make a recommendation at the June meeting, hopefully to award the study. Any comments, questions?
I just got a question, Jim. Would it be a good idea just to call back a couple of those firms and just get some feedback on them on why?
Well, they have sent me letters.
Okay.
They have given me feedback. A lot of them were very professional and called me and let me know.
Okay.
So I think I have.
So you have an idea.
Feeling.
They just weren't interested?
No, they just weren't.
Huh.
Did we include the company that did the receiving water study for Reading?
Stantec, you mean?
I don't know if that was.
Well, all those companies were included.
Okay.
That entire list was the first 4 that I talked about.
Okay, thank you.
And then expanded it to another 5. So this next round in will include Stantec. I'm sorry, I didn't get, they seem interested. They all seem interested. What are they going to say? They all want to see these proposals as interesting, and they want to know what's going on out there.
What do you think the time frame of actual testing is going to be on the pilot program?
I'm sorry.
The length of time that you run the pilot program, what do you think that?
Well, because we have seasonal water and different changes, we're looking at over 6 months, depending on, because of the seasonality, we want the treatment of water in the summer is kind of different than what happens in the winter.
Sure. More turbidity in the winter. Sure.
And there's the taste and odor issues we've jumped through. The untreatable water incidents that we have in the fall or before it rains. There's variations in surface water treatment that require long-term piloting. Kind of scary.
This piloting is going to include the alternatives like ozonation, that type of thing?
The whole, in my draft, I included everything I could think of along the list. It's up to the consultant really to vet those and decide where we focus.
And is the results of these pilot studies are going to be what determines the effectiveness of our altered recycle plans? So that kind of fits in line here because we're going with the option that may take longer to come up with how we want to go, but it sounds like we need a little additional time to actually hone in on exactly what we want and how it's going to happen. And I think they're going to need that information to come back So it makes sense. Yeah.
Any more questions, Jim?
No, I have none.
You got anything more you want to say, Jim?
No, sir.
Except stay at it.
Okay, thank you.
You might as well stay up there,
Yeah,
Jim.
stay up there for C.
Or B is next on the,
For B. That's the next one.
this is, it says Manager Barber, but I gather Jim's going to do it. Verbal report regarding requests for proposals for planning and design of the Reservoir B replacement project.
So this one turned out real well. The firms are top-notch. I've started reviewing the proposals, and I have one in mind already, but they're top-notch. They're ready to go. But we do want to interview them. Neil's reviewing it, Bill's reviewing the proposals, myself. We will interview them and come back to you the May meeting and with the recommendation to the board. We didn't think it was necessary for you two to be involved unless you have a difference of opinion. That'd be fine.
Take a look at it.
So
We trust you.
it looks really good.
Good.
Is anybody actually checking the condition of the reservoir right now?
Pardon me?
Checking Reservoir B to see how good the surface of that is?
Well, it's only reached 50% of its life cycle. We certainly don't want to reach the end of the life cycle and be doing design work. It's timely to move forward, especially since this SRF money is here now. We have the financing, and it's the less than 2% financing. It's critical that we use this SRF money to solve this problem. This is our most important, and I won't go into, it's very critical we replace this and use this SRF money. Is
Yeah.
that?
For a variety of
Is
reasons.
that
For a variety of
No.
reasons.
No?
SRF, you said it's 50% of its life?
Yeah, 50% of life cycle, and maybe less, maybe more like 60 or.
How long was its life cycle?
Well, we think 20.
No, it's
20 at the very
20.
far end. We expected 12 to 15.
Once the
How
covers get
long?
brittle,
How long? I was first put on when I first got on the board,
12
so it's
years.
about 10 years now.
And Jim, we're still a couple of years away from construction, so
Oh, yeah.
that's something we got to remember too. So we're
And I think this takes time. We actually started talking about this 6
Yeah.
months ago, didn't we? I recall.
Yeah.
well, this
Well, longer than that.
Well,
but-
actually-
But the funding came forward about 6 months
Process.
ago.
the process started before I got here.
Yeah, I think
4 years ago.
2013 or 2014.
Just to get qualified for SRF money is not the easiest.
That's right.
A lot of hoops to jump through, but it's kind of a no-brainer, really.
And I will remind you that we are also qualified for construction money as well. So
yeah.
that's important.
I think it's great that we're ahead of the curve on this one. I really do. Yeah.
SRF is what?
State revolving fund.
And that's the 2% money?
Yes, sir.
But we still have to pay it back. It's not a
Of
grant.
course.
Okay.
About 30 years.
And the life cycle,
Up to. It'll
life
be a board
cycle's
decision.
20?
Less than 2% of 30 years is pretty darn good. You
Yeah,
talk
but-
about buying houses, it's like,
Okay, the new plan, what's the lifespan of the new plan? Of the new,
Tank.
it'll be.
Well, we don't.
60, 70, 80 years. I mean, yeah, I talked to some engineers, they only want to say 40.
Also, it
We're
solves,
not going to build, these things can be rehabilitated and last a very long time.
and it
so
solves
it's-
more than one
what's it
issue,
gonna be,
Bill.
concrete and steel?
It's designed
The
for-
options are all on the board.
Okay.
I've seen some of the proposals, but they're yet to be determined.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
All options are.
Thank you, very good.
Keep us posted.
Very good report, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
This one puzzles me, but this is George, Department of Boating and Waterways, Grant Agreement Resolution, North Bay Launching Facility Project. George Barber.
Yeah, I'll jump in if you need to, Jim. But this is all part of our transitioning from boat launch 2 to boat launch 1. and getting them on board to do this. So they wanted a new resolution to make sure that is covered, and that's what the business is at hand. I'll answer any questions, or Jim can. It's pretty straightforward.
This was an agreement we agreed to prior.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah.
Yes, and this is
reaffirming
adjusting it
Changing location.
to change locations.
Okay.
So,
Right, Jim?
When Bordering Waterways has to do with their commission, and whatever, in this particular case, Bordering Waterways asks us, we need the resolution. We want the project to move forward, we give them the rest.
Yep.
We also give them a commitment letter very shortly. You know, the commitment, so maybe I'm going beyond.
No, but
They're also saying we need a commitment letter. Commitment letter will have the conditions for the non-reimbursable expenses in it. That's coming maybe the next meeting. So we need to give them what they're asking for so that they can go to the commission, get approval of the money.
okay. So because I've never seen this before and I don't even know what this is, I have some questions.
I got a whole bunch of them.
So I realize this is a $670,000 grant. Yay.
yes.
And on page 65, it says grant/loan, but this is in fact a grant, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. And then
Had that underlined too.
I see where originally we started this project, but the public on the adjacent property wasn't notified. Is that because we changed locations and they weren't notified, so we had to go back and notify them, or?
Yeah, that kind of. We've been out in the public with this, but the commission itself wanted us to do more community outreach, and so we're agreeing to do that.
Okay, so we haven't done that yet?
We have more to do.
We have more to do.
That's for sure. But I believe Jim's met with the property owner, the key guy up there, and we're more than willing to meet with them.
This project location is completely different. It doesn't affect the property owners like it did the last one. They could actually see the boat launch facility.
Okay.
That
Okay.
they were concerned,
Yeah.
rightly so.
Yeah.
They had comments. But this other boat launch has been there for a long time. They can't see it. It doesn't really impact the traffic. Well, who knows? Let me just stop there a little.
Okay.
They can't see it.
Okay. And then they have a pretty rigorous timeline in here, and all these, they shall be complete, and I can see all the dates have passed and everything that it says, everything should be done. So we must have been granted an extension at one time, or?
Yes, we've got a mutual understanding that as this goes through, we'll get a new timeline.
Okay.
George sent the letter.
And we,
You
yeah,
got it.
yeah,
George penned a letter that told them all the reasons and.
yeah.
Okay.
So we're working with them on that.
And
And I do want to jump back because you asked the question on loan/grant. When you see the final product, they made it clear that you're committing to operate this into the future. And so the reason they put the loan in there is if the board decided to quit operating it and wanted to close it down, then it becomes a loan and you have to pay them back.
Oh, okay.
One of the problems I had, because
Okay.
who pays for the ongoing maintenance, et cetera, et cetera? You know?
Well, we would after we had it, after it was built.
Yeah, I know.
What's the historical maintenance been?
I'm sorry?
What's the historical maintenance been on it?
But we haven't had one.
Yeah, this is
new.
going to
A new
increase the
facility.
usage
A new one.
quite a bit.
You had one, you're just moving the location from one to the other.
Well, but it's going to be all concrete and gravel and
It's
new
gonna increase usage
restrooms
quite a
and
bit.
lighting and on and on and on, so.
And then I also noticed on page 83, for breach of agreement too, there was, if we didn't perform, we had to repay the monies that we'd received so far. And then on page 85, it said installation of other facilities. Are we building other facilities besides this boat launch?
Trying to remind myself here. I can't answer that off the top of my head. This is generally really boilerplate. So
That's what, yeah.
Okay.
But it does worry me because I too have a whole bunch when you're done. We could maybe take it page by page and ask the questions, but go for it.
Yeah, and then page 95, have we completed a CEQA study?
No, we did not because we're moving location.
Okay, so everything is
So-
starting over. It's like a new
Yep.
project then?
Yes.
That we're going forward with?
Yes. What
Okay.
we're trying to do is hopefully shift it instead of actually having to reapply.
Okay.
So all these documents they're asking for us
Okay,
to
so
get
we're
your
gonna be doing
approval
all
on
this.
just allows us to get this moved without having to start from square one.
So I guess what it boils down to is, you feel we can perform, that we're going to be able to construct it and do our part without any liability to us as far as breach of contract or getting these documents or the public, or, I mean, there's so many ducks to put in a row, and it seemed like the timeline was compressed, and that worried me a little.
I'm confident we can, and we have not reached the point of can't pull out either.
Okay.
You know, it's when we start hiring contractors, hiring people to design it, et cetera, then our risks start going up. But at this point,
Yeah, okay.
And
'cause
this new location is in close proximity of the property that we just acquired for parking, correct?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we kind of,
It is the property.
okay.
Yeah, it is the
So we
property.
we're kind of committed already.
Well,
Well, let me clarify that.
That was a bad
You're
investment
not.
then on the parking lot.
No,
no.
we purchased that property because we have no legal parking. And SPI was actively marketing that land for someone else to buy. While they have let us use it, that didn't mean that opportunity was going to continue forward with a new owner. So what you're looking at as an option for the board is this option provides you a nice grant with probably much lower district costs to make this happen. The other one was a no-brainer to walk away from. You will have an opportunity to decide and walk away. We could just clear the land, do a CEQA, clear the land, put down gravel, and be happy with the facilities we have. That's an option this board has also. So we're not committed to having to do this. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Thank you.
Kind of makes sense if we already got parking lot there.
Well, and you got a grant.
We have a grant, that's the good part.
But anytime you get in bed with the government on something like this, when you start reading all these things, I'm going through and I got this thing totally marked up with things that are problematic up to kazoo.
This has been going on for, 4 years now, George, at least?
Probably.
Yeah, as we've gone through this, and the first thing, the money was set up to go to number 2 boat launch, and the office manager at the time had a relative in this park and found this grant money for us, so we went ahead with a proposal, but what broke it was it cost too much money. We had to share 50/50 costs, and they wanted a 20-foot road paved, and
Quarter mile.
quarter-mile road, and when we got the cost back on that, all of a sudden, in the financials we had, it was a big, like George says, no-brainer. So it was dropped, and then as we went ahead with this, it was suggested that we try Boat Launch 1, see if we can get some money with the same grant possibly. May not be as much money, may be changed, we don't know. That's why George is saying that this is not, you can still turn it down if the terms aren't right, if there's something wrong with the agreement, but you're giving them the go-ahead to continue to pursue it.
Okay.
That's right.
No commitment.
Yeah, I'm all
Okay.
for it. I'm just a little afraid of the language.
Pursuing it with another
Scares me.
resolution, and so I need a motion on the
So this
resolution,
resolution?
and this will be a,
May I ask a couple more questions, even though I know we can still back out? Because there's a whole lot of conditions in here that are really onerous. The legal access, like Ann was saying, the legal access we now have. Let me just go through. CEQA was another
Start
one.
with the pages.
Okay, I'll start at the beginning. Nope, that's not the beginning. Concurrence of all signed concurrence of all landowners whose land is directly affected. Now that's a huge one. You might get that, and you might not.
well, in this case, most of the landowners around it is Sierra Pacific.
SPI.
Our Sierra Pacific now.
But on the road that you go in, you pass a lot of family
No,
residences.
but where we're starting is beyond where there's a
Oh, it's
gate
at the
up
end of
there.
the road.
It starts at that gate and comes down.
Oh, okay, so it's not all the people up where all of the homes are?
No.
Okay.
We have to go
That's-
past Sierra Pacific property. Have they given us that unconditional right?
Well,
I'd hate to think they sold us a parking lot and then we couldn't get to it.
No, we could still use that. No, that's a nice parking lot, and the day that I went up and visited with my wife, there were, 5 other vehicles there, and everybody was using it already. It's in full use.
No, but
We're just gonna
I'm
improve
hoping
it.
that they wouldn't restrict us once they saw traffic because of a dock.
not
Oh.
SBI. SBI is not a problem.
And the CEQA was a question too.
If the directors want to visit
On page
it,
95?
you can do it
What page are you on?
Saturday and go to the kids' fishing day at the same time and watch them fish and see the capacity of parking and people driving in and out, and you'll understand all the problems involved. Just go over to, there's hot dogs there and coffee and all the accessories. You'll have to walk, though, if you want to go anywhere. But
Here's
I highly recommend it. I'll be there sometime
Consider
Saturday.
a
is-
position in sales?
Oh, yeah, right. That's what I do for a living.
One of the conditions of approval is powered. Let me see, including vessels powered by 2-stroke and 4-stroke gasoline engines. It says right in here. It's a
I think it prohibits that.
Yeah, our rules don't allow any
Prohibits it.
gasoline engines. on
No,
there.
the project area shall be open to all recreational vehicles, including vessels, blah, blah, blah. Now, one other place it counters that, but that's in different section,
Okay, so what page are you on?
81. And we shall not, the grantee, blah, 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 shall not charge any fee or combinations of fees totaling more than $13, and so we will have to collect. And of course, the way they come up with their $29,000 a year per person, et cetera, is crazy, but grantee should comply with all approved maintenance. They have to approve of all, and have a continued maintenance schedule set up.
They wrote this with Prop 218 in mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't see that. Thank you, Dan.
Years ago, I worked for the Soil Conservation Service, and we had civil engineers, and they'd go out and design a project for cost share. It'd be 50-50 cost share. Well, the farmers, many times, and I ran into this in Glynn County years later, but they would look at the engineer's design and say, that was going to cost me $50,000. I can go do my own design for $10,000. And they said, no, we're not going to go with your grant money. So this is the same thing here. When you finally get the finished grant, if we get it at all, we're not sure we're going to get it. If we get it, then you can say, like the farmer, no, it's cost too much money, we don't want to do it.
Okay.
So you're not agreeing to anything. What you're trying to agree to is to get Jim to continue to see if he can get the grant money for this other one, and it will be a different setup. It probably won't be $680,000.
Okay.
Probably be some figure.
And it'll be a you do realize this is the agreement that the board already signed, the prior board already
Really?
signed.
Oh my gosh! I mean, we have to have how many hundreds of millions of dollars worth of liability on every person? Who pays all that insurance every year? Maybe we've got it already.
We've got it, but we're going to have a different agreement that will come before you at some point.
It says we have to have electricity. Is PG&E already down there? Who's going to pay PG&E to get?
No PG&E.
No, it says it right in here. We have to have lighting. It's mandatory.
Yeah, it says we have to-
It is.
But the lighting's included in the grant, though, isn't it? I think it is.
The lighting, but how about
Good idea, Bill.
Oh, I see.
See, that's the thing. Is PG&E already down there? That'll cost
Okay, do you
$200,000.
guys want to turn this down? Or do you
Okay.
want to pass?
No, we'll pass
Let's
it.
move forward.
We're just
Okay.
whining.
As long as we're not locked in, we can
And
keep
before
going.
you
But boy,
do
there's
that,
there's worms oozing out of
Make a
this
motion.
can everywhere on
we
this
need a motion,
thing.
and then we need public input, and we still have a lot of other
Okay,
things
got
to
it.
do. So, what's the board?
Okay, I'll make a
We're not gonna
motion.
go home early tonight.
Mark is going to move
I'm
something.
going to make a motion on item number 7, new business, number D or letter D. Consider adopting resolution number 2017-07, agreeing to accept and manage the funds and abide by the terms and conditions of funding agreement with the Department of Boating and Waterways, Harbors, and Watercraft Revolving Fund.
Second.
Okay, anybody from the public want to say something? Oh, I know, your 5 minutes is all.
Yeah.
You can't talk anymore tonight. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Oh, no, it's got to be a roll call, I'm sorry.
It's a
Roll call
resolution,
vote.
that's right.
Oh.
Obstinate, no. It's got-
Aye.
Aye.
Vice President Casey,
Aye.
President Kellogg,
Aye.
100 red flags went up when I started reading it.
We got, we'll see what happens the next time it comes
Okay.
forward. Next thing is Treasurer Phillips, Paradise Irrigation District Depth Management Policy. Review and consider adopting the proposed depth management policy and provide guidelines for use of depth. What page is that on?
It's on page 108.
109.
I was wondering if I could
Yeah.
move to postpone this until the next meeting, just for length of time. There's no
Rush on.
time issue on this.
I'll
I have a lot
second
of questions. I didn't understand the language, and I need some help.
Sure, absolutely.
So rather than
Can I make
take it here.
Your questions, route them to Kevin. Bond counsel was involved in this, not myself. So if you maybe talk with Kevin about your questions, we'll have him answer it before it comes back.
Okay, I'll be happy to do that. Thank you. So just move to postpone this till the next
I
meeting.
second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Done. Oh, my piece, constructed wetlands. Unfortunately, I don't have enough of these handouts to give to the public. What it is there's an engineering firm called Pace Engineering. We have not done any business with them in the past. I'm hoping we may do some in the future. This is their yearly handout, talks about construction jobs, and the front page on the top is a wetland that was built in Congo. And
7.2 million.
then here's a copy for George and staff. And this is an article about the same project that was in the association's newsletter. And you get the only colored copy of this.
Oh, thank you. Wow.
The whole thing behind this is an engineering firm that was successful in putting in this wetlands. It's not the kind of wetlands I'm proposing here. It actually is put into a sewage plant.
Thank you.
In such a manner that the water never leaves the wetlands. That it stays, and yet it is a constructed wetland. They have wildlife. They have places where people can tour the thing. They came in with this project at around 3 million or so. We would need something like that. Or maybe not, because we're
It's
not
interesting
trying to
we
get
got
rid
this
of
from
all the
somebody
stuff
in the
that's
mail
sewage.
to this address.
We're just trying to get rid of 2 chemicals.
Floating solar systems.
That's pretty cool.
I might have to,
So anyway, there's something for you to look at.
Thank you, Bill.
It's in process now. They had to put their own lab in, the district did, to run all the tests that are necessary because it's a sewage thing. And they'd have to put in small pilot holes to check it as it's operating, and they have to take monthly tests and report to the water board. So it's much more complex than anything I'm going to propose, but it's been done recently in their own backyard. They're really nice people. They have a woman manager, and the people with Base Engineering are quite easy to deal with. They're out of Reading. It gives information about the office and so forth. I hope when we have things to go out that they'd be included on the list for
As a possibility.
engineering firm to talk to. So that's it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Says board recess. We'll give it another 5 minutes. We'll get right back. We should be able to get everything knocked. There's still a closed session to go into, but the staff and billing reports and the rest shouldn't take more than about 15 minutes. George's report. So 5 minutes, it's a bathroom break. I don't know about the rest of you, but I didn't get a chance to go to the bathroom.
Or even a Hertzberg staff person, because he's sponsoring
Okay,
the
the
bill.
Conservation Committee is first. This should be good.
Someone from his staff.
And I didn't ever even finish reading it.
Yeah.
After
I couldn't, I
400
didn't finish
red
all of it
flags,
either.
I go, holy cow.
Reading it, that's great.
But he's got my letters, my ledge committee letters, and the last 3 of them or so, maybe more. I've talked
Michael,
We do whatever we can by
about
ourselves.
this
We don't have to-
lifeline.
get the meeting, be timely and be on time. And that's what I constantly.
Let's see if that's it'll be the
And
third stinking
then,
time.
we'll close down discussion, but
I'm really, I'm getting frustrated with that
Senator
committee.
Hertzberg thinks
they're
the,
15
I think
minutes
it's water conservation if I have to get a toilet grant.
in control. You just don't need to go back to that.
yeah, it's,
That's what the order is all about. We have committee reports now. Board oral reports regarding their representation on commissions and committees. The first committee is Water Conservation Committee, Directors Rice and Kellogg, and I'm the chair. And you, if you want to start out, maybe ladies first, and I'll follow up.
Oh, you're the chair.
All
I
right.
can give it to the committee.
We talked about our garden up here and toured it, and we found out we wanted specs on the fencing, which we haven't gotten yet. The specs being actually what are the materials being used to build the fence, and all we have is distance and saying it's a horse fence. And as one of our employees was there and looked up real quick some horse fencing and found there was about a dozen or less horse fences. So it has to be more specific and so forth. So we haven't brought it back to the board to vote on to finance it. And then we've discovered that the garden, we have several proposals on paths and so forth. But the measurements weren't taken in a way that we could go out and actually lay it out. In other words, what we need to have is the trails laid out, or 1 or 2 of them, on the proposal with the distance, how wide they're supposed to be. And we're proposing a fountain. So where was the area we'd put the fountain? And then on top of that, what kind of fountain? And how much would it cost? So we haven't gotten that done, and we'll just keep plugging at it until we do get it done. And is there any more? No? Okay.
Covered it all.
Thank you. Community Relations Committee, Directors Rice and Sulik. Chairman, Mark.
Okay, well, I got a lot of notes here. I hope I can shorten this up some. I can't even read my own notes, I think. But we met last Monday, and I just want to say that Mickey Rich, who is the Information Systems Manager for the district, has been working on updating the district website, and it sounds like we're making some really good progress on that, and I think Kevin's been involved with that as well. Thank you, Kevin. And one of the things that they're doing is our vendor provides services for processing online payments, and apparently we're at a threshold. We're getting close to a threshold to where we get a discount. We're at about 10, a little more than 10% of our customers are paying online, and there's a discount at 11%. So we're close to getting that discount, and I know you guys are watching that very closely, and that's great. Really appreciate that. And let's see. So we have that. Oh, yes. Okay. And so, let's see. My notes are all messed up here. Sorry. I'm going to jump right up here to the Party in the Park. Party in the Park. We were a sponsor last year at the $3,000 level at Party in the Park. We sponsored a band. This year, we decided that, last year we had the 100-year celebration, and I thought that was great, by the way. I went to a lot of parties in the parks. Really good event. But this year we dropped it down to 500. We're at they call a perennial level. And we still get a banner, and we still get 6 event dates, I believe. And Mark and Tanya, if you want to jump in here and say anything about the Party in the Park, or I know...
Just to update the board, I did meet with Mark Thorpe from the Chamber today.
Okay.
The depot, which was nice.
Yeah.
And he basically reassured me that that $500 support level would be fine. The question that I was asked to follow up on the committee meeting was, can we also, I'm not sure where the idea came from for the filling station. I don't know if that's George brought up, but anyway, during the course of the conversation that came up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark said it'd be no problem if we have some type of a bottle refilling station. He'd be happy to include space for that at no cost.
Great.
So that's,
Great.
that's, I think, a plus. Let's see if there's anything else critical. So yeah, we're going to get 6. We would get 6 out of the 12, and we would just alternate.
Yeah.
1 week on, 1 week off. It just so happens that we've kind of set it up so that it coincides with the really popular bands, and that's important.
Yeah.
Because the attendance is up a lot bigger when you get a real popular band. So
Does this mean that you have a table at those 6 meetings?
you were with us last year.
Right.
We talked same things last year.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Party in the Park, 10 by 10 with easy up awning and a couple of tables and chairs, depending on what we're doing. We've been working on a theme for this year's booths. Last year we had a theme of history. The year before that was conservation, and it was the year before that.
And the before that, yeah.
So we're glad to kind of not have to stay in that rut, but we're going to present the district broken down by functions to the public. In other words, let's say distribution, for example, and we would get somebody from distribution to be there, and we would have a display that would be specific to distribution, to educate the community about pipe laying. Maybe we'll have a video or something. I don't know. We're just in the rough stage right now of scoping this out. But one of the challenges of having a booth in a community event is to make it worthwhile. And to do that, you have to engage with people. And you can come any Thursday night, and you can see some booths that are successful at engaging with people, and other booths, people just walk by. So we work very hard to make sure that we're always constantly bombarded with folks who want to see what we're doing, participate, and understand and learn what the district is up to. So that's what we plan for Party in the Park. And hopefully, I don't know if that's been approved. When are we going to? Mark wanted to know when we would know that we had the green light on that. So I don't know how we would proceed with that. But
Okay.
Will we have a beer filling?
Yeah.
Wrong company.
Very good. Now I got a question, comment. You said something about perennial. Okay, being the perennial tightwad that I am, how do we had talked about manning the booth alternately by board members, and so that we didn't, the tightwad part is so that we didn't have to pay them to sit at it. Is this something that's being pondered?
We did discuss it.
Yeah, we actually, we figured out that one night we'll feature directors, and there'll be a director there, but we can't do actually more than 2 directors because...
Well, I'm thinking single,
Yeah.
Me one night, you one night, you one
But
night.
once there's more than 2 of us, then you get into this serial violation.
You can't go in succession.
6 weeks apart? 6 weeks away?
They're only 2 weeks apart.
No, but I mean, if there's only 6 of them and there are 5 of us, that means only one person has to even repeat once.
But only 2 directors can participate, because once you add the third, it's...
But I'm saying
let me give you the example.
1 per night.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Let me give you the example. So the first night, someone comes up to you from the public and says, I really have this great idea for the agenda, and you go, that's a good idea. I'm going to put it on the agenda. The next night, they come up to me with the same idea, and I go, that's a great idea. The third night, they come up to him and say, I've already talked to these 2, and they're going to put it on the agenda, and then it becomes a violation of the Brown Act.
Not really, no, because
Well, I'll just let
Joe
this
Schmo can come up to me and you and him and him and him and
I'm
say
just
the
gonna
same
go get a
thing to
beer.
each one of them.
We know where you'll be at, right?
That is not true. Now,
Well,
if we take back that conversation, if we tell them, yes, I heard from Ann, or I heard from Mark.
This is why we have legal counsel. What's your
Yeah,
opinion, Dustin?
You jump in here?
No.
Ann is correct that what she's talking about is it's either called daisy chain or spoke and wheel. It's a version of a serial meeting, and with some training, you start hearing that, you say no.
It's your response. That's
Yeah.
what I've been telling Ann along. It's your response that determines.
But we
if
don't-
you respond by saying such and such, well then yes, but you just don't.
Okay.
I think maybe if we did man a booth, if we agreed ahead of time that we would not talk any policy or have any board type conversations, simply say, we're PID and we love working for you, and here's why we like our job, and not get into I'll talk to them about this or that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can
Anyway,
approach it from that manner.
We haven't brought an actionable item yet, but the kind of theme we were going for was featuring each department one night.
Yeah, which I like. Yeah.
So one night there'll be
Good
someone
idea.
from water treatment, one night from distribution, one night from IT, or one night from billing, or finance, however
love that
it goes.
idea.
And then one night a board member, if there's enough, unless I ran out of weeks. But also being backed up by Tanya
Yeah,
so we actually kind of expanded.
Tanya and
So you're spending more money,
it's
not less.
Instead of spending the $3,000 on the booth, we spent $500.
we dropped it down from 3,000 to 500. Remember?
Yeah, and then we're getting more people involved.
Oh, yeah.
Mark and
you guys do charge for when you're that.
We charge shop rate less 10%, so that's about, what, $80, $75? $85 an hour. When we do something together like tonight, if we're doing the same thing, which we are tonight, then we charge we charge basically two for one.
Yeah.
And when we do these booths, it's a lot easier for Tanya and I to do it together, because it's demanding when you've got a lot of people coming up, plus the setup and the takedown is pretty comprehensive, and it works well, kind of tag team arrangement. So we just charge half for each of us, or we just charge 1 hour.
But it's probably $400 a night for you or something like that.
But compared to the 12 weeks last year and the
Right.
$3,000, we're
exactly,
coming
we've
down.
dropped the amount of
Coming down.
events and the
We still want
participation
the
level.
presence.
Well, again,
I
like
hear
I said,
It's gonna come for a
every
vote, so-
$2,500 is $2,500.
It's going to come from
Dan, you know how you're saying you're always a cheapskate?
Yeah,
I like that, but I'm a cheapskate with my time, and I think,
but
I'd rather you not commit me to
for
an evening.
instance, Johnny Appleseed, Gold Nugget days, I'm manning a booth for the senior center at something, and you know how many people are charging how much? Everybody's charging zero.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, they'll
Because we would not do that. I'd be happy to sign up for the first night down there, free.
You got it.
But all by yourself?
Well, no, with whoever it is the other person.
Yeah.
Not Mark and Tanya.
Right.
Sorry, guys, but if it's Keith who is representing that, or Jim Passanisi representing that,
Right.
then that's two people at the booth, one board member and that person.
Right, and we talked about this in the committee meeting, and our take on this was that it would be if the employees would want to participate, okay? And I think some of them might.
Some of them have told me they would love to.
And it doesn't have to be a manager or a supervisor, it could be but again, this is a community relations, and our thinking was that, we'd like to get a little more exposure for PID and the workers, the employees. And they might actually really, really like to do this. I don't know yet, but we'll find
I
out.
wonder what the union's position is.
But when it gets really hot, we had 103.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But and that's fine. This would be voluntary.
Well, they're gonna be
that's
paid.
what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Is there
But I
an
think-
issue with the union on that at all?
They're gonna be paid.
If an employee,
They'll be paid overtime.
Just keep in mind, yes, it's volunteer. We're not directing anyone to do it, but legally we're required to compensate them.
We
So,
realize that.
and we did discuss at the committee meeting, part of the problem is like when you have an office staff member, they get the choice of compensating time off. So now, that 4 hours they spent that night is great 4 hours, but now you got 4 hours that you're short a person
I was
during
afraid of
office
that.
times.
But they don't all take comp.
Actually,
They don't all take
6,
the
'cause
comp
it's
time.
time and a half.
Some of them just take the money.
I was just wondering if the union, if there were certain things that they
there's
had to
rules
abide
To
by.
pay for
that-
them, yeah.
they would have
We
to
just
do
thought it was a positive thing to put out there.
Well, it's
That's
a great
what we
thing. It's too
I-
bad
I like
rules
the
and
idea.
regulations
I'm
usually
just-
get in the way.
Yeah.
Another $3,000 or $4,000.
Well, it'll come up before you for
Well,
action.
yeah, you'll come up for your. All right, for your
We're
vote.
just getting started.
And Tanya and Mark, also explain what you do in the booth a little bit more, maybe just to explain.
We've seen them there.
Oh, you have.
Yeah,
Okay.
I talked to them every
There's
time.
a survey. We have a survey, and yeah.
Oh, no, we got
There's other
Paris Lake.
things.
Different outreaches.
Yeah.
Last year, the director.
Right.
Advisory, residency advisory, we conducted a survey while we were there.
Sure. Right. Okay. Good.
Anything else?
Well, that was kind of the gist of what we did, I think. And but it was. I just want to say it was really a positive meeting, Dan. So and really in a lot of energy, and we got a lot of great ideas, and I'm excited about it.
Talk about the bills.
Excuse me?
The format of the billing.
Oh, yes, the format of the billing. Why don't you talk about it?
Okay, so then another thing we discussed.
Yes, okay.
Sorry. Another thing we discussed at this meeting is we compared the format, the look of our bill to other agencies, and we found out that ours was kind of drab and didn't have a lot of information. Like, it doesn't even say that 100 cubic feet is 748 gallons. You have no idea how many gallons you're using. So we tasked Laura in billing to look at Tyler Technologies' different packages, or because the software was purchased in 2013.
Yeah,
Somewhere around there. And of course, technology and software is much cheaper and fancier now. So to see what she could get for the same, just add maybe some color and some gallons and some charts.
I've got an idea. You know how we got a little water thing that comes out of nowhere? Why don't we build a miniature water treatment system where we make the water dirty on one side and it comes out clean through clear plexiglass so they can see everything happening, and then they can take a drink out of the other end.
Oh.
That's doable. That's doable.
A lot of liability there.
I mean, wouldn't that be cool?
Get sick.
Okay. We could hire them to...
Goes through the straw.
Anyway, so we'll be coming to you with an actionable item soon.
We got to get back to business, folks.
Okay.
We're going all over the place.
I just had one final parting thing here, and I just want to say that community relations starts right here at this board. And thank you for the apology last week, Wally. And I just want to apologize to you. I'm apologizing because I was very disappointed in some of the comments that were the exchange. And I just hope in the future that we can all be respectful of each other, be courteous, and we can move forward. And that's part of community relations. I just want to go on record talking about that tonight. So I hope that we move forward. And if I'm just saying this as a single board member, but if I see something going sideways, I'm going to do a point of, what's that?
Point of order?
Point of order. That's what I'm going to do. I got a cheat sheet right here. I'm going to try to stop it. Okay? I'm just letting everybody know. I'm going to stop it. So, because we don't need to go there anymore. We're going forward. We're doing different things than we used to. Well, from what I hear, what the board used to do. So, thank you.
There's no comparison.
No comparison. You should have come to some of them. You would have
What
been
I need
delighted.
from you, Mark, to finish up is a motion to spend the $500. Committees don't
Is that an agenda item somewhere?
have the power to spend money.
Okay.
So you have to get the board's approval. I know it's retroactive. It's all it is a
What is it?
thing.
What is
For the
that?
Paradise in the Park?
We don't have this agendized as an action item.
Okay.
It's actually
I'm
under
not-
the authority. It
Yeah.
doesn't
What to
need
do
board
another
approval.
time?
Because the manager has approved it.
Yours,
It
George?
doesn't need board approval. If the committee's supportive of it, we can move forward.
You mean,
It's $500.
talk about the party in the park now, approve the expense?
No, it's not an agenda item. We don't have to approve it.
Don't have to
You're
approve
saying the
it.
It doesn't
committee can...
require board approval. It's $500.
Right.
Okay.
And it's
As
not
long
an
as
agenda
Dan's
item
okay
anyway.
with it, we'll
The 500 part I am. It's the
Did it come
3,000
under,
beyond,
Manager's allowance to spend money, I guess. Paradise Lake Recreation, Mark and myself, we spent most of our time talking about Kids Fishing Day and trout and how much we're getting and so forth. Jim did most of that reporting. And we're well set up and how well the district is organized to put on the Kids Fishing Day and how much they had everything in order. There was some suggestions on signs, I think, Mark, did you suggest some signs? Have those been put up, Jim? You said that you'd be able to do that up at the lake?
Which specific ones?
I think we were just talking about some generalized signs that...
You mean the no smoking?
Oh, yeah, that's
We
right.
are implementing
That's
no
right.
smoking area.
The areas, yes.
I bought those signs myself.
Oh, okay.
Good
Well,
job.
thank you.
I personally stole those signs. It was a good idea. Forest Service liked the idea.
Very good.
Good.
Thank you, Jim.
And it's supposed to be good weather for fishing, too. Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's going to be beautiful
Yeah.
on Saturday, I hope, or maybe not. It keeps changing.
I'm sorry, there was a part of
What?
they want a first aid station sign also.
Oh.
I don't think we did about that.
Okay.
That came out of Forest Service.
Okay.
And that also.
Good, thank you.
Do we have somebody who can man a first aid station?
We acknowledged in our, we have to have an operations plan for this event now, and we do have search and rescue trained people, and all of our staff have CPR, first aid training certificates, and all of our trucks have first aid kits. They're not full first aid kits. But we also have 911.
Needle nose pliers for hooks, that's all you need.
Does, do you have to have an actual station with a cot or something?
The sign, the first aid sign will be at the snack bar.
At the snack bar. Okay. You have something more you want to add?
I did. I just wanted to say, and Tanya and Mark sent this over to me. I knew it was coming, but I didn't get to see it live. But Greg Dobbs and Kristen Tucker were on TV yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I saw the link, the video link, and I watched it. It was fantastic. Really great for PID, really great for our kids fishing day, and great for our community relations. How about that? And I have to say, I think Greg's got a future in the entertainment business. I really do. So, thanks.
Thank you. General Manager's report, a written report on various subjects.
Before we get into that,
What, Claire?
I'm not sure what the term is to make a suggestion here.
Oh,
but-
make it under Director's comment.
Okay.
Do it under Director's comment.
I'll do that then.
Okay.
All right.
George?
Well, yeah, my written report, I hope you enjoyed it, my parting wisdom. The only thing I want to add, just so you're aware, we got the emergency grant, the OES grant documents in. It's all submitted, and we're waiting for an answer. But we got it in early on, and it's waiting approval. And we were able to improve, actually, on our last application, working with our grant writer and reviewing it again. And we increased a one score area based on power outages and how many people it affects. So it's even a little bit better looking at than it was before. So
Great.
Good.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Anybody have questions of George? Yeah. Legal report.
Okay, I have one topic, and then, of course, any questions I'll try to answer. Water conservation. I've mentioned in the past to the board about the kind of anticipated legislative battle we're going to have on additional state mandates to conserve water, and we're now there. Last Friday, maybe a week and a half ago now or so, the administration submitted what's known as a budget trailer bill. It's a bill that goes through a speedier process in the legislature than a customary assembly bill or Senate bill. So you don't have a lot of time to review and then get your lobbyists teed up and identify issues and then hopefully get them resolved. So in any event, the administration put forward a budget trailer bill. It does a whole bunch of things that nobody in the water industry really likes. Some of those, and I'll have a fuller report later, but there's an interim. It gives a lot of discretion to the water board. That's the same entity that kind of implemented the blunt conservation mandates in 14 and 15 to conserve 36%. So the legislation would give the water board the ability to implement an interim conservation target sometime in the 2018 time frame. We don't know what that is. It's subject to the discretion of the water board. And then by, I believe, 2021 or approximately, the water board is directed to have then a long-term conservation target. What there appear to be moving towards is kind of an overall district budget. So you'll have an indoor budget, so many gallons per person per day. You'll have an outdoor budget that varies depending on your climate zone and your square footage of landscaped area. And then you'll have a CII, which is a commercial, industrial, and institutional. So you add those three figures up and you come up with your district-wide water budget. the reason so many people are upset about that is because you could have existing water rights that are vested that maybe afford 2 or 3 times usage than what the state is telling you your budget is. So in any event, it's concerning. There's a lot of other ancillary things. It extends or expands the Water Board's emergency rulemaking authority. That's, again, the prior conservation mandates, the 36%, that was done under an emergency rulemaking process, so they're getting even more powers. They have increased enforcement authority and the ability to order you to provide information. Last thing of note is there's a kind of more robust drought planning requirement, and it's something along the lines of you have to have stages of drought, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, and then greater than 50%. And you could just kind of see the writing on the wall where the state is going to force you into these kind of somewhat predetermined tiers so that the next time there's a significant drought, multi-year drought, something like that, they can just say, go to stage 4 or go to stage whatever. So it's troubling. I'm not quite sure what our legislative strategy is going to be. We're going to meet I'm part of the Aqua committee on this. We have a meeting tomorrow to kind of formulate that. Aqua does have a couple of bills that they were anticipating something like this. So Aqua staff worked with other folks in the legislature to propose their own conservation bills that, by the way, we don't like. I mean, but it would definitely be the lesser of two evils if you're comparing it to the administration's proposal. So wanted to make you aware of it. It's probably going to be moving pretty fast, but I'll try to update the board, and if there's some kind of need for a special meeting, I'll work with staff and the president to see if we need to get one called. So that's all I have, unless there's questions.
It sounds like they pretty much implemented everything that we got in that, what is like about 50-page handout a couple of months ago, 3 months ago. It sounds like just a checklist.
Well, that's the offensive thing. That the bill actually goes farther than what their report said they wanted to do.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's
keep voting Democrat.
And what are we going to do with all this water that we can't use?
Well,
give it to Southern California.
Of course,
it's going to spill like this year.
Dustin, who's carrying that bill?
The governor's
You have it is in my.
No,
it's somebody with an F. I didn't recognize the name. It must be a new legislator.
Yeah.
I can. I'll look for it and I'll provide it to you in a minute.
Send letters to the.
That would accomplish a huge amount. Yep.
Okay.
I think the tactic is to say we oppose this and we agree with the others. I mean, we'd really like to say we oppose all of them, but I don't think that's realistic. I think something's going to get passed. Yep.
And you think it's too late to carve out an exemption as far as that 36%? We're never going to get away from that? There's no...
I think they are cleverly getting away from what appears like a one-size-fits-all mandate. But like I said, the next shoe to fall, you can just kind of see it, where they're forcing you to these 10% and so on, so that the next time there's a drought and they've got all of these new enhanced emergency rulemaking powers, they could just say, okay, go to your 40% stage or whatever. So it's not explicit in this legislation, but you can kind of see the writing on the wall that they're likely to do that in the future.
It's almost worse when it's not explicit, because they're just empowering the water board, which is not a good thing for us.
No, really. Lessons on how to screw the people.
Thank you,
Any
Dustin.
questions for Dustin more than?
No.
Any more? Okay. Thank you, Dustin. Staff and billing report. They're in your book, and there's some that has a summary on page 121, evidently. That's what we've got up on the screens. So, who wants to handle it? There's nobody from the field staff here. So, Jim, would you explain your part of the staff and billing report?
Do we have any questions?
Any questions for him?
Generally, we just field questions.
Nobody has any questions? We had so much other to do. This comes up once a month, and it summarizes and everything. I wanted to bring out, well, they had it up on the summary screen, how many fireflies, or whatever it is. 297, it said, in the report. So, and that's a continuing problem. It says we installed 1,000 feet of pipe, but it doesn't show on a bar draft or any place on the report. It shows 20 feet. I wonder if that's an old one on Pearson
Yeah,
Road.
I think it must be.
Yeah.
From January, I think.
It's still carried forward on the
Yeah, most of this
summary
is just
sheet.
repeat. Yeah.
And it's got a lot of information and stuff in it. It's interesting if you pick subjects and want to trace it back and follow it month to month, because there's a lot of information in it. And one that always attracts me is the pipeline replacement. 2015, it was 6,000 feet. 15, it was 6,445 feet. 2016, 20 feet, and so far this year, 20 feet.
We hope to change
Well,
that.
if you remember, the board took action to reduce staff.
Right.
And took a affirmative action to not replace pipe. So that was a board direction.
Okay. I think one of the things we have to do as a board is start replacing pipe.
I would like to comment that we did, I noticed we had the renewed water permit, and that report, I read that, and that's a reflection of the quality work that you guys are doing up there at the plant, so thank you for that.
How about your audit, your inspection?
The distribution system, they got a clean bill of health.
I noticed that, and that you're instituting actual testing of on the zinc orthophosphate, and so I recognize that. I did read that whole report, and I just wanted to say, good job.
Yep. Oh, the linear polarization?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real time? That's really good.
Yeah, we're looking forward to implementing that in a couple of weeks.
Good.
And I see also we're going to probably be doing some lead testing in the schools in the fall.
They have to send us a letter.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe that's what they're waiting for.
Yeah.
You probably are wondering why, and I think you might have hit on why.
Looks like it. Yeah, they're not in school.
Well,
They're not in school.
you have to use the taps ideally, and then let them sit. So.
Yeah.
Any more comments on staff and billing report?
Yeah, I was just going to again say on this report from the water board on the water distribution system, just thank all the employees. Did a great job to get this, like I say, clean bill of health here, and no irregularity. What do they say? Yep, right. It's all good. It's fantastic.
And I would encourage the public to read these staff reports, because they really do have a lot of information and that's pertinent and what's going on in our district. And the revamping the website and continuing work on the pond alternative. And Neil attended a conference in Minneapolis hosted by the Design Build Institute of America. So maybe he'll know more about Design Build and what's going on in treatment, and then, of course, the courtyard. And, of course, Laura's billing report's always very accurate, and I appreciate that.
No more? Doesn't call for any action, so we'll go on to director's comments.
Generally, you accept, the board generally accepts the staff and billing reports. So there's usually a motion to accept.
I make a motion to accept the staff report.
I'll second that.
Well, I apologize, I missed it. It's in the first line up there. All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, director's comments, and to explain, this is anything the directors want to comment on their informational items only. So we'll start with Dan and then come
I'm not sure who put together the function today at noon, but I apologize to whomever did it, and I'm sure they did a great job in not making it. So it was a beautiful sunshiny day. We haven't seen many of those, and I just got up early and went to work and worked until 5:15 or whatever. So
That was very nice.
yes, and I'm sorry I didn't make
Great
it.
job.
I have no comments.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing that Dan did. I apologize for not making it. I totally forgot about it. I got busy with other things today too. So anyway, thank you very much, George, for your service to the district. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I've got a number of items. I'll try and make it quick. Earlier, agenda order came up, and I called point of order, and I appreciate your respecting that. And I think that the more we stick to the agenda and the more appropriate the agenda is in priority, I think when we create an agenda, we need to look at the highest priority items first and put them in the correct order, so that as directors, when we look at the agenda, we don't feel like we have to move something around to make it the order that it should be. So if staff could look at it and try and make sure it's in the appropriate order, then hopefully we won't have to make changes to it and have somebody call point of order like I did on Director or President Kellogg here. On these reports that we give on the committees, they're all real informative, and don't take this the wrong way. I think they're great, but I've been kind of reading up on Robert's Rules of Orders and everything, you know, and in the time of expediency, if we could put that report in the form of writing and put it in the agenda packet ahead of time, we could all read that, and then if we had questions or comments about it, we could abbreviate those, and we could probably save a half hour to 45 minutes of our meeting. I mean, if everybody's against that, I understand, and it's not I enjoy the conversation as well, but sometimes when we want to get home, it would be great if it were already there and we'd read it and we knew all about it. Then we wouldn't have to read. Mark wouldn't have to say, oh, I got 2 pages here, I'm going to try and, you know, we'd know that, and we'd already have a couple things highlighted. We could say, hey, Mark, could you elaborate a little bit more on this one subject? So I don't know if that's something we could do. I think that would be a great thing to do. I don't know if it has to be a motion but I'd like to see that happen.
Well, under director's comments, there's no motions, there's
Okay.
no action.
So
and
that's-
nobody comments on your comments.
Okay.
One
Perfect.
later on, maybe, but
Okay.
not you don't
Two
interrupt.
more
the
things
director.
then. Two more things. Robert's Rules of Order is great for parliamentary procedure, and I've got 4 books on it now, and the more I read, the more confusing it gets, and we're not a parliament. We're a special district. And I've also read up that Rosenberg's Rule of Order is more appropriate for a district like ours, and it's 10 pages, and it makes a heck of a lot more sense. And I think we ought to look at Rosenberg's Rule of Order and maybe decide if we want to change our policies and procedures to loosely follow that versus Robert's Rules of Orders. It might be a lot less confusing to everybody.
Buy the directors a copy or a shorthand on it?
You can download it. It's available. And then the last thing I'd like to say is I'm glad that Ann is taking the initiative to go to training on how to be a better board member. I wish I had the time to go.
It's
I would
about
go,
time.
but I'm
You've gotta be
hoping
a better board member.
that when she comes back, she'll have pearls of wisdom and she can correct us when we're out of order, because I'm sure we're all going to learn from it. Thank you for going. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I think you could have stated that a little.
Now, I'm going to, just after correcting Cliff, I'm going to say, I think we need to have a special meeting as soon as we can to go over the manager's thing. We haven't done it, finished it up. We need to finish it up and give direction to our community relations and what we're going to do, advertising, what directions we're going to do. Do we want a pamphlet? All that. It should be a short special meeting. I would think we'd cover it in a half hour, an hour, maybe.
I think didn't we already authorize a request for proposal the special meeting on the 13th?
Yes, but we didn't do anything, did we?
Yeah, we did.
What did we do?
We're going to send out a request for proposal.
Oh, did it get out?
It hasn't gone out yet, but it will go out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it needs to go out as quick as possible.
Yeah, I think we're all done.
Okay,
And
then
that-
let's get that done. That's my comment. We need to get on with the business of the district, and that's on with the director, replacing the manager. See how well I keep up. So we have a closed session now, and then we'll come out with an announcement from closed session. The closed session is real property negotiations.
Any comments on closed session?
Do you have copies on your agenda, or do you have copies of the agenda for the public?
No? Okay.
So
No? Okay. So here.
if anybody has comments, we'll give you a report. It may be that we didn't do anything. I don't know what it's going to be.
I think the announcement's going to be something along the lines of direction given to legal counsel and district negotiator. I don't think there's going to be a real elaborate announcement.
So we might not even have anybody out here when we come back.
Yeah, that's very possible.
I hope we have one, or else I have to walk home.
That's what I wanted to explain. So we're going into closed session now. And thank you for coming tonight and participating.
Bill, would you be interested in